Welcome back to Camden Yards. Let's take a look at the starting lineups tonight for the Angels. Spike Owen will lead off and play third base. Former Oriole Harold Reynolds at second base, batting second. Tim Salmon is in right field. Chili Davis is the designated hitter. Jim Emmons will bat fifth and play left field. Chad Curtis is in center field tonight. J.T. Snow at first base hitting seventh. The catcher Greg Myers will bat eighth, and Gary DeSarcina, the shortstop, will hit ninth. And pitching for the Angels is veteran left-hander Joe McGrain.
Well, the way the Orioles have been plastering that baseball lately, Mel, I think Joe should be in line for a headache before this one's over. This is only his 11th start, as he spent some time on the disabled list this year due to injury, but still Joe's going to have to show better stuff than what he's shown so far, statistically speaking. He'll be 30 in a couple of days, and the Angels are hoping he can come back 100%. At his best, he was a pitcher with a sharp curveball, heavy sinking fastball. And if that fastball can generate the same velocity as in his heyday, then he won't have to rely so much on that breaking stuff and location to get by tonight.
The batting order tonight for the Orioles: Brady Anderson will lead off. He's back in left field. Chris Sabo moves to third base, batting second. Rafael Palmeiro at first. Shortstop Cal Ripken, who's swinging a hot bat, will hit fourth. Leo Gomez is the designated hitter tonight. Chris Hoyles will catch. Jeffrey Hammonds in right field hitting seventh. Mike Devereaux, just off the disabled list, will bat eighth. And Tim Hewlett will play second base and hit ninth. And right-hander Mike Messina going for his 12th win of the year.
Well, coming off a positively superb performance against the Toronto Blue Jays should hold Mike in good stead in this start tonight. He may be catching this Angels team, as we mentioned earlier, at the right time. California was swept 3 straight by Oakland, and the Halos have been in a major run-scoring drought lately, as Mel said in the open. But Messina was brilliant against Toronto and moving that fastball from side to side and utilizing his changeup and breaking pitches most compatibly with his hard stuff.
And the umpires tonight: Terry Kraft is behind the plate, Ed Hickox at first base, the crew chief Jim McKean at second, and Jim Joyce working at third. Despite the Orioles' very successful road trip, going 5-2, they lost a half game in the standings and trailed the Yankees by 4.5 games. The Yankees finally lost last night to the Red Sox, who came from behind to win, but they had won 8 in a row.
The Orioles lost a heartbreaker themselves last night after Jamie Moyer had pitched so well. But don't blame it on Rio, blame it on Albert Bell. And the Angels don't have an Albert Bell, and the Orioles may be catching this Angels club at just the right time.
Albert Bell of the Indians hit 3 home runs against the Orioles in that 4-game series, and 2 of them were game winners. Tuesday night he hit one off Alan Mills with 1 out in the 9th to give the Indians a victory, and then he connected in the 8th inning last night off Mark Williamson as the Orioles and Indians split that 4-game series. Well, Mike Messina leading the league with a 2.67 earned run average, also leading the league in innings pitched. He is 11-4. Has pitched 128 innings, allowing only 115 hits. He's had a fine first half, and Tom Davis spoke with pitching coach Dick Bosman before the game and asked him, should Mike Messina start the All-Star game?
Well, it's probably a little bit controversial, but I think, if you're just going by the numbers, the rest of his numbers certainly are good enough. He's probably going to have to win one more, and maybe he could even sneak in one more after that. I don't know, but there certainly isn't anybody more deserving than he is, and whoever gets the nod, there's going to be a couple guys that are going to be a little disappointed.
Based on what happened here last year, would you think Cito Gaston would actually pick him to start?
I think he would. He's a fair man. That was all blown out of proportion anyway, and I really think that if everything fits together and it's his day to pitch or close to his day, and he's got the right numbers, I think it could happen. Sure.
Tonight's contestant, the Maryland Lottery Hit It Here promotion, is Sharon Rome of Baltimore. If the lottery logo is hit by a fly ball, Sharon will win $49,000. And if the lottery logo is not hit, the jackpot will increase by $1,000. Tune into each O's TV home broadcast to see if you're a contestant. Watch it here, hit it here, and win it here.
49,000. That's getting up into my neighborhood there. I show a lot of interest in that.
Well, Mike Messina trying to add one more notch to his belt as he faces the California Angels, with Spike Owen, Harold Reynolds, and Tim Salmon coming up in the first inning.
Well, they've got some fellows, Mel, who can get on base. Also a couple of big-time hitters who can move them around. But the Angels are not the Indians, and this club can be pitched to.
Messina lost to the Angels 8-2 here in April, the first time he faced them. That was a game in which Mark Leiter pitched so well. 0-1 to the switch hitting Spike Owen, who's been a better hitter from the left side, hitting .327, right-handed hitting just .200. Well-traveled infielder, has been with the Red Sox, the Expos. Last year was with the Yankees. Been a shortstop most of his career, but in the last 28 games has been starting at third base for the Angels. Breaking ball is bounced to the second baseman Tim Hewlett.
They got a bunch of hitters, Mel, who put the ball in play. So with that in mind, you know, the defense tonight is going to be busy, and Messina, no doubt, is going to use it.
Well, quickly one gone, and Harold Reynolds, who played with the Orioles last year, coming up. Another switch hitter, batting .235. The Angels began play third in the American League Worst with a 33-46 record. They're only 3.5 games out of first place. What a division that is. Texas leading the division with 35 wins, 41 losses. Seattle is 33-44, 2.5 games out. California is third. The Oakland A's, who've won 7 straight, 8 out of 10 are last, but they're only 3.5 games out, just 2 percentage points back of California.
I'll tell you, that division is up for grabs, and Oakland right now is playing the best ball of any of them.
Fastball is slapped to the third baseman Chris Sabo. Sabo back at third tonight with Leo Gomez serving as the designated hitter. Johnny Oates was saying before the game that they'll probably flip-flop them back and forth. Sometimes Sabo will DH, Gomez will play third. Sometimes Sabo will play third and Leo will DH. And of course, Sabo has shown that he can play the outfield.
I personally believe right now that Gomez is probably the better third baseman of the two at this point in the season. But that doesn't mean you'll get anything less than Sabo that has to offer in his best.
Ball one to Tim Salmon. Big right fielder got off to a great start this year. Had a tremendous month in May, but has cooled off since. Well hit right center field and deep. Mike Devereaux on the run, and it's gone. A line drive home run over the right center field fence to give the Angels the lead.
Well, he's one of the big time hitters I was referring to. He and Chili Davis on this ball club. They can move the little guys around. It's a good thing any of those little guys weren't on base. And it didn't take any time at all for that ball to leave the yard.
Number 17 for Tim Salmon.
Watch where this pitch is located around the plate. You know, right down there. Good low ball hitter from the right side. I mean, he smelled that pitch in the location. The baseball proved too much to resist. It's amazing how a skinny piece of wood can propel a baseball so far like that.
1-0 Angels, and here's Chili Davis. He takes a fastball for a strike. Chili is back in the lineup after missing the last 3 games because of a tender groin. Having a good year, though, hitting .332 with 13 homers and hitting the ball well from either side of the plate. Ground ball to the first baseman, Rafael Palmeiro. That does it for the Angels, but they take the lead on a solo homer by Tim Salmon. Beautiful night here in Baltimore. 89 degrees the start of tonight's game, and it's good to be back home after a 7-game road trip. The Orioles swept the Blue Jays 3 straight and split a 4-game series with the Cleveland Indians in a wild 4-game affair. 3 of the games were high scoring, 7-6, 9-8, and 7-6. Finally last night we got a relatively tame game with the Indians winning 4-2. And tonight the Orioles will face left-hander Joe McGrain, who spent most of his career in the National League with the Cardinals. And he had some elbow problems, was released by the Cardinals last year, but Whitey Herzog, former Cardinal manager who managed McGrain, was then the general manager of the Angels and signed him to a 3-year contract. He's been plagued by walks so far this year. 2 starts ago he walked 8 batters in a game. Another outing he walked 6, and according to his manager Marcel Latchman, a lot of the walks have been coming with 2 outs. He'll be sailing along and get the first 2 hitters out, then he'll give up a walk and then a base hit, and suddenly he's in trouble.
Well, now if one were to look solely at Joe's numbers this season, they're brutal. You know, elevated ERA and 2 under 500 at 2 and 4, but also, as you mentioned, too many hits, too many walks, too many home runs for 58 innings. But still, he's always possessed a certain pitching savvy on the mound, and we'll see how far that can carry him this evening.
McGrain will celebrate his 30th birthday tomorrow. He's a big guy, 6'6", 230 pounds, out of the University of Arizona. His best year in the big leagues was in 1989 with the Cardinals when he was 18-9. Brady Anderson leading off for the Orioles. Ball 1 to Brady. Surprisingly, left-handers have hit McGrain better than right-handers this year. Left-handers are hitting 300 off of him. Right-handers 272. So both have hit pretty well. Look out, right back at us. Look down.
Well, he's going to have to look for that cushy spot to put that fastball tonight. You know, it's often on the outside, slightly off the plate. And that appears to be a favorite hangout about 3 to 4 inches off that 17-inch wide bench that he's looking at.
Brady trying to bunt his way on. 1 and 2.
And as you mentioned, Mel, when that ball begins drifting out over the dish, you know, it's then a wake-up call for that batter, and the guys with the large wooden bats start crowing like a rooster. If he stays out there, tough to bunt or hit.
Brady pulls it down the line, but foul. The matchups for the series is Mike Mussina against Joe McGrain tonight. Tomorrow it'll be Ben McDonald against Mark Langston. And then on Sunday, Arthur Rose faces Brian Anderson, who beat the Orioles here at Camden Yards in April. It was right after he was recalled from AAA. Pitched a terrific game here.
Sure did.
Ground ball to the first baseman. J.T. Snow takes care of it.
The way the Angels, Mel, have fared lately, and the way the Orioles have been striking the baseball lately, you know, you'd figure this one to be a mispass, especially when the pitchers involved are mentioned. McGrain hasn't pitched that well this year. Mussina has pitched superbly, and the Orioles have been hitting the tar out of the ball.
Strike 1 to Chris Sabo, who's playing third base tonight. Sabo faced McGrain frequently in the National League and hit him well. .350 lifetime against him with 7 hits and 20 at bats.
But on any given night, as we've said so often, you know, a pitcher can put it all together. And of course, that's what they're hoping McGrain can do tonight. Got him.
That got him. Sabo takes one for the club. McGrain hits quite a few batters because he tries to come inside. He cuts the ball and runs it in on the right-handers, and he plunks quite a few.
No, that's what happened right here, Mel. You're absolutely right. But hitters are looking for that fat super ball to hit for distance this season more than ever, and they're having a frolicking good time too. And for all the runs that were scored in Cleveland, not one batter bit the dust, and that prospect makes it thrilling to hit now.
That's the 5th batter that Joe McGrain has hit this year, and the Angels have hit 35 batters. That's the most by an American League staff. So Sabo is aboard after being plunked, and Rafael Palmeiro steps in. Ball 1 to Rafi. Palmeiro hitting .326 with 13 home runs. He was 0 for 4 last night in Cleveland. Breaking ball outside, 2-0. Although McGrain is left-handed, he doesn't hold runners well. Last year he allowed 22 steals, and this year in 10 starts he's given up 8 in 9 attempts. Got that high leg kick. He's slow to the plate, and you can't run on him. Fastball is high. 3-0.
Ed Hickox, the umpire behind the plate, is a hitter's umpire.
It's Terry Kraft behind the plate.
Oh, I'm just going by what I've read here. So change it then. But come to think of it, Kraft is also a hitter's umpire. So if that's the case, this could be another wild evening if he squeezes these pitchers.
3-1. Apparently there was a last-minute switch because Ed Hickox was listed as the plate umpire initially. But it is Terry Kraft behind the dish.
Yes, it is indeed.
Sabo could be running on this pitch.
Well, you know, you have to concentrate on the runner almost as much as you do the hitter to preclude them from running at first base as often as they have off of Joe McGrane. And that's a very limited move right there. That can't be as good move.
I'm not sure he has one.
He may not.
He does have a decent move to first that he can use, but his problem is he's got the high leg kick and he's slow to the plate. Popped up foul down the left field line. 3-2 to Rafael Palmeiro, who has hit left-handers very well this year. He's hitting .352 against lefties. Actually has a higher average against southpaws than he does against right-handers.
Well, he needs something on the inner half of the plate so that he can utilize that wall in right field. He's not been seeing that in this ballpark too often.
He hit a lot of home runs early, hit one on opening day, hit one the next day to right field, and since that early season home run binge here, pitchers have been working him away. Looks like the sun is in the eyes of the first baseman, J.T. Snow. He's having trouble picking up those throws by McGrane.
I thought that was a problem yesterday in Cleveland also, but they didn't have to throw to first too often.
That was an interesting shot. I looked at first base, and both Sabo and Snow were shielding their eyes from the sun.
Right. That is an oddity that can't last very long.
Sabo's trying to see Jerry Narron, the third base coach. Snow is just trying to shade his eyes in case McGrane is going to throw over. That's quite a sight.
It sure is. It must shoot right through the stadium.
Sabo doesn't run, and the pitch is up and in. Ball 4. Well, the table is set for Cal Ripken, who has been swinging a red-hot bat. He had 10 hits in the 4-game series in Cleveland. And in his last 4 games, he's 11 for 19, hitting .579.
Well, it's unhealthy to hit someone and then walk another batter ahead of the middle of this lineup, because usually you pay the price, and opposing pitchers have in the last couple of weeks.
Strike 1. Cal had 3 hits last night in Cleveland, a home run off Mark Clark in the 2nd inning, and then a pair of singles.
Unfazed by the pursuit of Lou Gehrig's record.
He had a great month in June, hitting .354 with 7 home runs. Up there with 2 men on. 1-1.
I think it's tough to pitch him now, in as well as away. He's hitting the ball outside. He's pulling that one. He's pulling the ball inside. Not hitting it so much to right. It's made him a much more powerful foe at the plate.
The Angels aren't playing him to pull as much as most teams have. Cal pops it foul. The catcher, Greg Myers, comes back but has no play.
Well, McGrane got away with one right there.
Oh, the big guy took it away from the kid.
Well, he's a big kid.
Sorry, kid.
Better
luck next time.
That's right. Got plenty of years to get one of your own, you'll say.
In the air to center field. Chad Curtis coming in and makes the catch. Two down, and Leo Gomez will try to get the runs home. Leo is the designated hitter tonight. He has been playing third base lately, but on occasion has been a DH. I asked him if it bothers him, and it does. Some players don't like it because you have a lot of idle time between at bats, and if you're not hitting, you feel sometimes like you're not contributing. You can't make a great play in the field or steal a base or do something else. But he said he doesn't mind it once in a while. He said he just wants to be in the lineup, and that's all that matters to him. And he knows that if he continues to hit, he will be.
Well, you know, he can go inside and ride the life cycle, do his fan mail, and then come out several hitters before he has to hit again.
He said he doesn't do that, though. I asked him about that. I said, how do you occupy your time? He said, I just sit in the dugout and watch the game. He said, once in a while I'll go back in the cage and take a few swings, but he said, I don't ride the exercise bike. I don't go back in and watch the game on television as some DHs do. So I'd rather sit in the dugout. Into left field for a base hit. Chris Sabo will try to score. Edmonds fires to the plate. It's cut off, and we are tied.
I'll tell you what, Mel, had Jim Edmonds gotten this throw up just a little bit and not bounced it to Spike Owen, the third baseman right here, the cutoff man, he certainly would have had a play on Chris Sabo, even as hard as Sabo is chugging around third base right there. But he threw the ball right down into the ground, and of course that precluded any opportunity of them getting Sabo at the plate.
Leo Gomez picks up his 41st run batted in and ties the score 1-1. And now Chris Hoyles comes up with runners at first and second. Breaking ball in. Hoyles was 2 for 4 last night in Cleveland, hitting .326 over his last 14 games.
No breaks in this batting order for Joe McGreen. Yeah, it's tough a lineup straight up and down, as you'll see in the American League, even with Harold Baines out of the lineup.
In there for a strike. I'm sure Chris's family are watching the game tonight in Wayne, Ohio, perhaps on this satellite dish. His dad Tim sent me a picture of the satellite dish that's on the Hoyles farm in Wayne, Ohio.
How about that?
So our best to the Hoyles family. Apparently, according to the note, I don't know how much there is to do in Wayne, Ohio, but a lot of people stop by and look at the dish. It's kind of a landmark tourist attraction. But Chris comes from good hearty stock. We get a chance to see his family from time to time in some of the Midwest cities, and the Hoyles, a nice family. It's one of the fun parts of this job, getting to know the moms and the dads and the brothers and sisters of some of the players. Chopper foul off third base. Think of all the good times we had with Scott McGregor's dad, John. It's been fun getting to know some of the guys. Ben McDonald's family, we've seen them quite often. We're up here frequently to see Ben pitch. Ben said his objective is to get a multi-year contract that'll pay him enough so that his dad can retire from Exxon, where he's worked for some 26 years, and travel around and watch Ben play. Nice thought on the part of his son.
Yes, indeed. It looked like he was running along those lines earlier this year. We saw Larry at a lot of Ben's games.
Hoyles lines a base hit to left field. Palmeiro will try to score. Edmonds unloads to the plate. The throw is right there, and Palmeiro is out. What a great throw by Jim Edmonds to end the inning.
Well, you can see he corrected after that last throw.
Right on the money to the catcher, Greg Myers. And that prevents the Orioles from taking the lead.
I mean, all he did was up it a little bit and didn't bounce it, threw it all the way in the air, and that's all it took to get him.
The end of one inning. The Orioles and Angels are tied 1-1. The Angels took the lead in the first inning on a home run by Tim Salmon. The Orioles tied it up on a single by Leo Gomez. And it's 1-1 as we go to the second with Jim Edmonds, who threw out Rafael Palmeiro at the plate, leading off for California.
Well, this one looks like, Mel, already it has the makings of a very adventurous evening at the plate and on the bases.
Foul back, strike one to Edmonds, who is 0 for his last 13. When the Angels were here in April, Bo Jackson was playing left field, and the Orioles took advantage of him because of the artificial hip. His mobility is not as good as it used to be, and it took him a while to get some balls hit down the left field line, and the Orioles ran on him at every opportunity. He still has a very strong arm. It just takes him a little longer to get to the ball. And Marcel Latchman, after he took over as the Angels manager, replacing Buck Rogers, told Bo Jackson that he wouldn't be playing as much in left field. He'll play out there occasionally and also DH. And Edmonds is in left tonight.
Well, both got pretty decent numbers at DH, except that Chili Davis is a designated hitter.
Ground ball to the second baseman, Tim Hewlett. And what Marcel Latchman has done is to occasionally put Chili Davis in the outfield when Bo DHs. Chili hasn't played the outfield for a couple of years, since '92 with the Twins.
96, the center fielder, number 9.
One out, and center fielder Chad Curtis stepping in. Curtis has hit Mike Mussina very well. He's 8 for 21, hitting .381 against him. And he jumps on one and hammers it deep to left field, way back and gone. And the Angels take the lead on Chad Curtis' 6th home run of the year.
Well, you could see how quick his bat is. Unfortunately, one of the reasons he's not leading off anymore is because of a very poor on-base percentage. But I'll tell you what, he smacked that one just like a big power hitter.
The Angels came into this game scoreless in their last 22 innings, but Salmon hit a home run in the first. Curtis has connected in the second. The Angels lead 2-1.
That'll put a smile on your face when you hit one like that. Watch how quickly his hands come through the strike zone. Look where that pitch is. Right up there in his wheelhouse, and he's a good high ball hitter. Hot hands around that bat, whip that pitch into a screaming frenzy.
Ball one to the switch hitting first baseman J.T. Snow. The Angels are the only team in the American League with a slugging percentage under .400, and yet they've hit 2 home runs tonight. And that's well hit. And Hammonds takes it on the run for the second out. They're hitting some balls hard off Mike Mussina. The Angels are either last or very close to the bottom in almost every offensive category. They're 12th in the league in batting average, 13th in runs scored, 10th in home runs. And catcher Greg Myers steps in.
And they sport an under .500 record on the road, so you know those things aren't usually compatible to beating the kind of pitcher that Mike Mussina can be from start to start.
A drive to center field right at Mike Devereaux. The Angels regain the lead on a home run by Chad Curtis. We go to the bottom of the second with California leading 2-1. All right, thank you, Thomas. And we go to the bottom of the second inning with the Angels leading 2-1. For a moment, I thought I was back at Jacobs Field in Cleveland, the way the ball is flying out of here so far tonight.
I think they're comparable parks myself. McRae may get the kind of support he needs after the start his teammates have given him.
Jeffrey Hammonds has been swinging the bat pretty well over his last 6 games. He's gone 7 for 23. Looks like his timing is coming back. When he was first activated off the disabled list after going down to extended spring training, he came back, seemed to be a little slow, was chasing a lot of pitches that weren't strikes, but he hit a home run in Cleveland, and it looks like he's seeing the ball a lot better.
Well, he seems to be cuddling into the plate a little better, not so much pulling off.
3-0 to Jeffrey. Mike Devereaux off the DL today. He's waiting on deck. 3-1.
This is not the kind of park, as we saw in Jacobs Field either, that you can pitch behind in the count too often.
Foul ball, strike 2. 3-2.
It's a good thing they have a little protective device hanging down below that chin right there, because when they didn't have that, a lot of balls would sneak right in there in that spot right there near the collarbone area and get them in the Adam's apple. So that's been of extreme benefit to catchers.
And McGrain gives up another walk, so the walks continue to plague him. This year he's allowed an average of 6.29 walks per 9 innings. He's also given up 9.5 hits per 9 innings, so that's about 16 base runners per 9 innings. It's hard to win with numbers like that.
You're not treating yourself very kindly by doing that.
Tonight he's walked 2 and hit 1 so far.
You know, it slants your approach on the mound.
Ball 1 to Mike Devereaux, who was activated today. Lonnie Smith, with an injured knee, was placed on the disabled list.
Well, let's see if McGrain's style on the mound pretty much coincides with other pitchers who have been getting Devereaux to swing at balls away from the plate.
It's been a very difficult year for Mike Devereaux. In spring training, he was asked to play right field, struggled with that. He's finally moved back to center. Then he got hit in the face May the 8th by the Indians' Chad O.J. Wasn't the same hitter after that. Just started to come out of it. Was really swinging the bat pretty well in 7 games before his latest injury. Then he pulled a hamstring, went back on the DL. But in his last 7 games before his last injury, he was 8 for 26 with 5 runs batted in.
Well, he wants to have a big season, and there's still plenty of time left in this year to accomplish that.
High fly ball to left field and deep. Back goes Edmonds to the warning track to make the catch. Not quite enough of it.
Second baseman, number 36, Hewlett.
And with 1 out, Tim Hewlett coming up. Hewlett starting his 2nd straight game at second base. Mark McLemore injured his shoulder in Cleveland, diving into a base head first. Johnny Oates said he had planned to give Hewlett some starts anyway. Wants to try to keep him fresh. Johnny's gradually been using his extra men a little more after starting the season with an everyday lineup. 0-1 to Tim.
I'm sure that Timmy's folks, Judy and Harold Hewlett, are no doubt watching in the Illinois area.
Inside, 1-1 to Tim. He started at second base last night in Cleveland, went 1 for 3 with a run batted in. Two and 1.
At some point, the Orioles are going to probably have to explore the possibility of exploiting McGrain's weakness as far as holding runners on at first base. Now, often during the early parts of the game, you more or less let the game play itself out, but as the game moves along, you have to start exploring that possibility. Jeffrey
Hammonds has 2 stolen bases in 2 attempts. He is Undoubtedly the fastest player on the team, but has not yet become a big base stealer. Just really beginning his major league career. He's still technically a rookie this year. 2-1.
He's swift, but does not enjoy the technique of maybe some of your better base runners.
And he's had a bad knee. Still playing with that heavy brace on his right leg. 2-2 to Tim Hewlett. The Angels lead 2-1. We're in the bottom of the second. Glad you can be with us as the Orioles are back home. They hope to start fattening up at home. A 10-game homestand, 3 games against the Angels, 3 against Seattle, and then 4 against the Oakland A's before the All-Star break. That's inside, and the count is full to Hewlett. Brady Anderson is on deck.
Well, this is almost a gimme right here that Hammonds must be running at first base. I think McGreen is obliged to get the ball over to be hit.
Hammonds is running, and Hewlett hits a ground ball foul. Talking about Hammonds' bad knee. He actually has no ACL ligament in his right knee. He got hurt playing football in high school. As a result of the injury, the ligament just sort of withered away and disintegrated. Doctors say it's not an uncommon thing, that athletes can play with it, but he has no ACL ligament. Hammonds runs a line drive into right center for a base hit. Hammonds is on his way to third.
You can see right there that Hammonds is running just fine, and that brace is probably more of a security blanket than anything else. But Timmy Hewlett comes through with another clutch hit with a runner running.
The Orioles have had 6 base runners so far against Joe McGreen. He's given up 3 hits, walked 2 batters, and hit 1.
Well, that in itself is an unhealthy dose of base runners, and over time in the first 3 innings, it takes its toll on the energy of a pitcher.
And now Brady Anderson comes up with runners at first and third and 1 out. Brady has not really produced in these situations. Less than 2 outs and men in scoring position. He's 2 for 30. Ground ball snagged by Snow. What a play. But the Orioles pick up a run as Hammond scores, and the game is tied 2-2.
Outstanding play. Good plays like that one build a protective barrier around a guy like McGreen on the mound, who's had trouble keeping people off the bases. I mean, he scrubbed the field clean here with this play. I mean, this thing easily could have bounded down that first baseline. What a superb effort. And he was looking to throw that ball to second.
Tim Hewlett moving to second base on the play. Now with 2 outs, Chris Sabo is up. He was hit by a pitch his first time up. Strike 1 to Chris. He's only hitting .251, but he's had a lot of timely hits. And with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, he's hitting .333. Line foul down the right field line.
He's a hacker and a slasher, and of course he admits to that. And so it's very difficult to pitch to him unless you can feed off that kind of energy that he puts into each and every swing by throwing the ball out of the strike zone.
Tim Hewlett at second base, 2 outs. The score tied 2-2 in the second inning. Sabo whacks it to the third baseman. It goes through Spike Owen. Here's Hewlett heading home, and the Orioles take the lead. An error by Spike Owen has given the Orioles the lead.
Tell you what, Mel, you're not going to see that very often. He's a very, very sure-handed infielder, whether he's playing third base right here or shortstop. But you can see right there, when you don't stay down, you're often not going to catch the ball. Neither are you going to block it. And he just scooted over about a half a foot. He not only would might not have caught the ball, but he certainly would have knocked it down. But you can't afford a vacation break on defense right there. Errors leave a sour taste in your mouth.
It's the 5th error of the year by Spike Owen.
And they afford undeserved opportunity to your opponent.
Sabo is running with a tremendous jump. There'll be no play on it. That's Chris's first stolen base of the year. When he came back from Florida after rehabbing his bad back, he said, I'm going to start running. And he had some good stolen base years in Cincinnati. He stole 46 as a rookie with the Reds. And in recent years has had back and ankle problems and hasn't run much, but he's feeling frisky now.
Look at that. He was out of the country before Myers even got a hold of the ball.
Raffy hammers one to deep right center field, way back and gone. I believe it's a home run. Palmeiro stopped at second base, but that was a home run. That went over the wall. And now the umpires tell him it's a home run.
Well, you can see it bounce off the wall and hit the back wall, and that's clearly out of play. And he smoked it.
5-2 Orioles.
Boy, did he crush that thing. And again, McGrain got that fastball right up there in his eyes.
Number 14 for Rafael Palmeiro. And the Orioles have exploded for 4 runs in the second inning to take a 5-2 lead. Palmeiro stopped at second base. He apparently thought it was a double, but all it has to do is clear that one wall.
Well, he was looking at Jim McKean out there in the outfield, who didn't give the surest sign that he was being accorded 4 bases.
Strike one to Cal Ripken.
It wasn't until later, after the development that had occurred, that McKean finally signaled yes, it was gone. And he creamed that one.
Cal lifts a fly ball to right. Tim Salmon in a couple of steps to make the catch. But a 4-run second inning has given the Orioles a 5-2 lead over the Angels. Welcome back to Camden Yards. The Orioles lead the California Angels 5-2 at the end of 2 innings. A lot of action so far. A total of 7 runs. The Angels took the lead on a home run by Tim Salmon, and the Orioles tied it up on Leo Gomez single in the bottom of the first. Then a home run by Chad Curtis in the second gave the Angels the lead. The Orioles came back with 4 runs in the bottom of the second. Rafael Palmeiro hit a 2-run homer, and it's 5-2 Orioles. Gary DiSarcina leading off the 3rd inning. Strike one. DiSarcina's been a little slump, not only 0 for 13, but 1 for his last 24.
But you know, overall, he's hitting the ball really well. And if he gets it up there around 270, he'll play shortstop in the big leagues for about 20 years.
0-2 to Gary. The Angels hit some balls hard in the first 2 innings off Mike Mussina, including 2 home runs, but he's one of the best at making adjustments, finding out what's working and what isn't, and doing what it takes to win.
I think that Chad Curtis home run now was a wake-up call for Mussina. And he realized right there, this team's not a pushover, even though they haven't been playing very well and scoring very many runs their last 3 games. If you throw the ball upstairs to major league hitters, and you pay the price.
I remember that game against the Oakland A's in April, in which Mussina gave up 6 runs in the first 3 or 4 innings. Didn't have a good breaking ball. Started going with a sinking fastball and then began to get the hitters out. The Orioles came back to win that game for him. And he wound up going 7 2/3 innings. A high chopper. This is trouble. Cal Ripken over to first, not in time. An infield hit for DiSarcina.
Well, he knew that was going to be a hit. He runs too well for anyone to get him out at first base. Even Cal getting the ball as quickly as he did and getting rid of it still wasn't there in time.
Spike Owen up for the second time. He's already helped the Oriole cause with an error that led in a run and then allowed Rafael Palmeiro to come to the plate and hit a 2-run homer. Owen bounced to second his first time up.
Number 9 hitter hitting 270 plus and leadoff man hitting 290 plus. That in effect gives you two pretty good hitters from the bottom of the order to the top as a bridge extension that can get on base for you. So when you're starting in that number 9 position, you're not getting a break. And as we said, 2 or 3 guys get on ahead of Salmon, Davis, and Edmonds, and then pretty soon you'll be looking at a lot of runners on base and maybe some runs.
Check swing roller foul. And it's 1-1.
There's the value of that changeup. It can halt a rally because it throws a hitter off balance. And his is so deceptive. Fastball arm motion, but the ball just doesn't come out.
Strike 2, 1-2.
The thing that not only impresses one about Messina is that he is so steady in his performance usually, and normally most predictable in what you can expect from in any one game. A master of several different pitches. He can throw them for quality strikes, and he keeps the ball usually in the yard with the exception of the first 2 innings here.
A roller foul up the first baseline. Well, the Orioles were very fortunate to draft Mike Messina out of Stanford when they did. They actually drafted him out of high school, and then he went on to Stanford and was a fairly low first-round draft pick. I was talking with Assistant General Manager Doug Melvin and Dave Roberts, a scout for the Detroit Tigers before the game. We were talking about Messina, and Dave, I think, was working for Oakland at the time, and said that he had scouted Messina and that he'd been pretty inconsistent his last year at Stanford, so a lot of teams didn't pick him early. But Ed Sprague, the Orioles West Coast scout, whose son Ed Jr. played with Messina at Stanford, knew him very well, and the Orioles had scouted Messina thoroughly, and they were able to draft him, and what a great pitcher he has become.
The Orioles bats have been hot as the setting sun, but they'll have to protect themselves against an Angels club that looks like they want to provide some offensive fireworks for themselves.
Hard ground ball to Tim Hewlett. He fires to Cal Ripken over to first. Nope, not in time. DeSarcina is forced at second base 4-6, but Owen reaches on a fielder's choice.
But very, very close. And usually when you don't turn the double play, when a ball that's struck that hard, is because the guy that hit it runs too well, and that was the case right here. He was scampering down that first baseline.
See, the first base coach, Max Oliveras, for years and years. Bobby Knopp was the first base coach. He's now moved into the dugout to be the bench coach with the Angels' new manager, Marcel Latzman. Harold Reynolds grounded to third his first time up. A looper headed to right field. And Spike Owen will stop at second base. Tim Hewlett tried to deke Owen, acting like he was going to catch that ball.
Oh, that was a very strange swing.
Right fielder, Tim Salmon.
It's the fourth Angel hit off Mike Messina.
And watch this. His swing is in slow motion right here. Not only is the frame in slow motion, the swing was in slow motion. That made it double slow motion.
Tim Salmon whacked a solo homer to right center field his first time up. Up there now with 2 men on. And representing the tying run.
Well, another frightening prospect because of the distance he can hit the baseball.
Ball 1 to Salmon, who drove in 27 runs in May. And has cooled off since, hitting only .232 with 14 runs batted in June.
He was most consistent last season throughout the entire year. And as the year went on, he constantly made adjustments that you were referring to earlier in the game, Mel, and that made him a super player last season.
Ground ball in the hole. Cal Ripken slides over, fires to Hewlett on to first. Got him. Double play. 6-4 to 3 to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the third with the Orioles ahead 5-2.
Well, it's a beautiful night for baseball here in Baltimore. Welcome back to Baltimore's Camden Yards. Game time temperature was 89 degrees. A couple of notes from this afternoon. Butch Hobson was suspended 5 games for his attack on umpire Greg Kosk the other night. Of course, as Mel mentioned, Lonnie Smith placed on the disabled list. Mike Devereaux back with the team tonight. The Washington Post scores read this way. Seattle and New York tied at 1. They're in the 4th inning. Danny Tartabull doubled in the Yankees run, and Dan Wilson hit a home run for the 2nd time this season for Seattle. The Mariners come to town Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Oakland leading Boston 5-2 in the 4th inning. Troy Neal a 2-run double. Mike Steinbach along with Ruben Sierra and Mike Bordick have driven in the other runs. The Detroit Tigers lead Texas 6-3 in the 5th. Kirk Gibson has a scoring fly ball plus his 14th home run. Toronto on top of Kansas City 3-0 in the 1st. Joe Carter doubled in 1. Mike Huff with a 2-run single. Cleveland now leads Minnesota 2-1 in the 5th on the strength of an Eddie Murray 2-run homer, his 12th. Ken Herbeck single in the Twins run. And the White Sox lead Milwaukee 1-0 in the 2nd. Julio Franco knocked in the run with a ground out. Now in the National League, just 3 games underway. Reds 1-0 over Pittsburgh in the 4th. Kevin Mitchell singled in the game's run there. Atlanta and Florida tied up at 2 in the 4th, and the Cubs have just scored a run, lead Houston 1-0 in the 2nd inning. That's a look at the Washington Post scores, and don't forget our next HTS game comes up on Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
All right, Tom, Leo Gomez is singled in a run his first time up, leads off against Joe McGrain in the 3rd, and pops the first pitch foul. McGrain making his first start against the Orioles, and he's given up 5 runs on 4 hits so far.
Well, the Orioles have picked up where they left off at Cleveland, continuing to pound the baseball and utilizing a plethora of base runners to score a lot of runs.
1-1 to Leo. Breaking ball in, 2-1. That's well hit, high in the air to deep left field, hooking and gone. A home run. Number 10 for Leo Gomez, a tremendously high drive that had a lot of hook on it. Looked like it might hook foul, but it stayed fair, and the Orioles lead 6-2.
Oh, and Joe releases the ball. That ball is continuing to shiver as it approaches the plate, and this thing goes a mile high. No way that ball was going to jump over that bat. An uppercut swing produces an uppercut homer.
Well, the Orioles have hit 2 home runs tonight. Rafael Palmeiro hit a 2-run shot in the 2nd, and now Gomez is connected. The Orioles have hit home runs now in 17 straight games. Club record.
Whatever Leo is doing as the designated hitter between at-bats, he should keep doing.
This is well hit, but right out to center fielder Chad Curtis. Over the last 25 games, the Orioles have hit 38 home runs, most in the major leagues, and Mike Butcher is throwing in the bullpen. Jeffrey Hammond's coming up. He walked and scored his first time up. Breaking ball low, ball one. Fastball in there. With home runs in 17 straight games, the Orioles have obliterated the old record. The old mark was 14 straight games. One and two. I think Hammond's a little upset at himself for taking that pitch. That was up and in, high, kind of pitch he likes. And he let it go by.
He's been hitting the ball so well because he's been taking a few more pitches. And I'm sure that's entered his thinking now. Seems to hit best when he's got that tongue crooked into the right side of his mouth right there, sticking out about a half inch.
3-2.
But he made a number of quick outs in Texas on first or second pitches up in the strike zone, and that hurts him more than helps him.
High fastball is whacked high in the air to left and gone for another home run. Joe McClain read the scouting report on Jeffrey Hammond, but I'm sure it says do not throw this man a high fastball, and that's what he got.
He got two or three of them in that at bat, but he picked on the one that he liked the best right here, and he got way out in front. I mean, this is a home run derby pace we're seeing here over the last 4 or 5 games from this ball club.
3 of the last 5 batters have hit home runs, and that'll do it for Joe McClain. He is gone after giving up 7 runs. For Jeffrey Hammond's his 6th home run of the season, and now it's time for the Bell Atlantic call to the bullpen. Mike Butcher takes over for Joe McClain. Butcher is best remembered for nearly touching off a bench-clearing brawl here at Camden Yards on April the 21st. He hit Brady Anderson and sent 3 other Orioles pitchers or hitters ducking from pitches, and he was so wild that Buck Rogers, who was then the Angels manager, had to take him out of the game before somebody got seriously hurt. And shortly after that, he was sent to the minor leagues, but he can be extremely wild.
Yeah, he's got a good arm. He just doesn't have very much control. But the Angels very much want to keep him in that bullpen.
Jeffrey Hammond's home run has chased Joe McClain, who worked 2 1/3 innings. He gave up 7 runs on 6 hits, 3 of them home runs. Walked 1 and struck out, make a walk 2, hit 1 and struck out none.
Yeah, unfortunately for McClain, he just didn't have much of anything tonight, and the Orioles took advantage of that.
Ball 1 to Mike Devereaux. One ball, 1 strike. And if you're Devereaux, who was hit in the face by the Indians' Chad O.J. in May, facing this guy, I'm sure you're rather light on your feet.
Yeah, you're hanging loose. But
1-2.
It looks like to me, even with the first 3 pitches and the way that Mike was warming up, that he's more focused down in the strike zone. I mean, he was haywire and all over the place the last time we saw him in this ballpark. This is a much better approach for him and his style.
Slider outside, 2-2.
Because the tendency is always there for him to overthrow the ball. And that makes it worse because that makes him more wild. And of course, that would make a hitter like Mike maybe a little jumpy. It'd make anyone jumpy.
Three and 2. This is Butcher's 30th appearance of the year. He's 2-1 with a very high earned run average of 7.03. Ground ball up the middle. DiSarcina drops it, picks it up, throws, safe. Well, you knew once he bobbled it, it was over. Devereaux just runs too well.
Good defense has vacated the premises.
And DiSarcina will be charged with an error. The second error of the game by the Angels.
If you let the ball play you and not you play it, you run into these kinds of difficulties. Instead of running laterally so much, he probably realizes now that had he pursued that ball head on, he'd have had Mike.
And if you're playing against the Orioles right now, the way they're hitting the ball out of the park, you can't afford to put runners on via errors or walks, because the next man up is liable to hit the ball out. Tim Hewlett singled his first time up. Ball one. Orioles 7, Angels 2, bottom of the third. Mike Devereaux has only one stolen base this year. He's only attempted 2. Been caught once. Way outside, 2-0.
Plus, we're at a point in this game too, Mel, where you don't even think about running right now. You let the game take care of itself at the plate and make the pitcher get you out and not help him out. Now, that doesn't mean they can't be aggressive on the bases, because they can be, especially when you got a lead like this.
Good cut by Hewlett, and it's 2-1.
Even he had a little uppercut swing in that stroke right there.
This is the first time that Tim has faced Mike Butcher.
Maybe the feeling of hitting one out is catching.
It's been sort of a tradition over the years with the Orioles. The guys sitting in the dugout try to call home runs. So try to anticipate when somebody's going to hit one out, and they'll call it. I would think there's been a lot of that going on here in the last week.
It's an interesting pastime on the bench.
Three and two. Brady Anderson is on deck. There goes Devereaux, swing and a miss by Hewlett to throw to second base, and Devereaux is out. So it's a double play to end the inning. Strike him out and throw him out as Greg Myers throws out Devereaux, but the Orioles hit 2 more home runs, and at the end of 3 now lead 7-2. Welcome back to Camden Yards, where the Orioles lead the California Angels 7-2. The Orioles playing long ball again tonight with 3 home runs. And Mike Messina has plenty of offensive support tonight with 7 big ones on the board, facing Chili Davis leading off the 4th inning. Chili grounded to first, his first time up. Chili trying to bunt his way on, something you don't see very often.
Well, Chili's the big dog in this lineup, and when he has to resort to bunting, you know there's something wrong somewhere. Of course, being down by 5 runs will often promote something like that.
Chili spent many years with the San Francisco Giants and then came over to the Angels in '88. Spent 3 years with California and then was signed by the Twins, went over there and had some more good years. Came back to California last year, and he drives it to deep right center field. And it's gone. 7-3 Orioles.
This is Jacobs Field.
6 home runs in the first 3+ innings. Each team has hit 3.
Well, we told you he's the big man in this lineup. And when he has to bunt, something is wrong. But when he swings the bat like that, that is often the result right there. And he had one of the biggest seasons of his career last year. So there's no reason why he can't have much of the same year this season. And he is. Look at this breaking ball. Maybe one of the best breaking ball hitters in the American League is Chili Davis. Right down and got it. Beautiful flight.
Jim Edmonds grounds a base hit into right field. And that's the 6th Angel hit off Mike Messina. We've had 6 home runs so far for the Angels. Tim Salmon, Chad Curtis, and Chili Davis have connected. For the Orioles, Rafael Palmeiro, Leo Gomez, and Jeffrey Hammonds with home runs.
Well, Messina's going to have to pitch with the care and distinction that befits a pitcher of his quality, especially when you get a 4- and 5-run lead.
And here's Chad Curtis, who homered his first time up. Seven to 3 Orioles. Curtis doesn't hit a lot of home runs. His home run in the 2nd inning was his 6th. Last year he hit 6 the whole year, and in '92 as a rookie hit 10.
As you can see by those numbers right there, he hits this ball club well. You know, every batter has a team where they do some of their best work against. It looks like the Orioles, one of his good clubs.
Sometimes that's due to the fact that you have several pitchers on a staff who throw the same. Maybe a pitching coach who's been with the organization for a while and has taught a lot of pitchers the same way, but I wouldn't think that'd really be true with the Orioles because they have a lot of different type of pitchers. Mike Messina is much different than Ben McDonald, and you've got Moyer, who throws a lot of off-speed stuff. Sid Fernandez, much different type of pitcher.
Yeah, in that case, his hitting distinction is earned.
Up the middle and through for a base hit. Edmonds will go to 3rd. Well, the Orioles have outscored the Angels tonight 7-3, but California has out-hit the Orioles 7-6.
I'm not so sure what we're seeing here from Messina on the mound, because that ball right there took one bounce and went right over the rubber. And he felt as though he let this ball go because he thought there would be a middle infielder right there to scoop it up. But he's one of the best fielding pitchers in the American League. I mean, this bounded right back at him, and just watch him fall off the left side of the mound here. See here? Right over the rubber. Did not even try to reach out and grab that ball. Something wrong here.
I'm wondering if he might be injured the way he's standing with his head hung low there on the mound, and Dick Bosman comes out.
We're just not seeing the usual reply from him on the mound. And with this kind of a lead right here, he never ever let something like this get away from him. You know, I don't know if this is more of a scolding or a get back to business lecture right here, but this is not the usual Mike Messina on the mound.
And Mark Eichhorn begins to throw in the Oriole bullpen. What a road trip he had, picking up 3 wins with 3 brilliant outings.
He's pitched phenomenally well. Sure, Oates would bring him into the game at any time he chose.
Runners at 1st and 3rd with nobody out, and J.T. Snow up. He hit the ball hard his first time up. He lined to right. Ball 1. Snow was acquired from the Yankees. Highly regarded prospect. Had a big year a couple of years ago at Columbus, the Yankees AAA team. Last year with the Angels, got off to a great start, hitting for a high average, a lot of home runs, and then he went into a deep tailspin, eventually wound up in AAA. There were a lot of rumors this spring that they were trying to trade him. One rumor had him headed to the Mets. The deal never came off. He began the year at AAA. Hit well there and has been brought up again, but is again struggling against major league pitching, hitting only .202.
Well, we've already seen that he's very adept around that first base bag, but you can go in and out of cycles as a hitter where you know how to hit, you forget how to hit, you know how to hit, especially young players.
He was acquired from the Yankees in the Jim Abbott trade in December of '92. He and Russ Springer and Jerry Nielsen going to the Angels. Fastball high, and it's 2-1. Jim Edmonds is at third, Chad Curtis at first. 7-3 Orioles.
Something that helped Snow in his first year, Mel, was that he was someone who adjusted to off-speed pitches about as well as anyone who you'd see come up in the big league baseball the first year. But then he just kind of lost that knack after a while. I still think he's going to be a proven performer at that position offensively.
Try to check his swing on a high fastball, and no swing, says Jim Joyce, the third base umpire. So it's 3-1.
And they're building themselves a nice little rally here. It looks like Messina is bucking a strong headwind here.
Ball 4. I don't know what's wrong with Mike. He's just not right. I don't know whether he's not feeling well or just doesn't have anything tonight, but he's not the Mike Messina we're used to seeing. And the Angels have loaded the bases.
And Mr. Bosman's been on the phone. That's not a very secure lead right there when you see the bases jammed and no outs.
Greg Myers coming up for the second time. He flied to center field his first time up. Myers now the #1 catcher, with the recently recalled Andy Allenson and Mark D'Alessandro backing him up. There's a strike.
The Orioles spent 4 nights in Cleveland having to outslug that ball club over 4 games, and the prospect of that happening here the first night of this series didn't appear to be the same. But we all get surprised on some nights.
Check swing, foul ball, and it's 0-2 to Greg Myers. The Angels had 2 young catchers up earlier, Chris Turner and Jorge Fabregas. Both are back at AAA now. And Myers is the #1 catcher, but he really can't catch too many games consecutively because he underwent knee surgery in April. Was involved in a home plate collision with the Red Sox Mike Greenwell and suffered torn cartilage and underwent arthroscopic surgery. Fly ball down the left field line. A long run for Brady Anderson. He makes the catch. Edmonds tags. He'll come in to score to make it 7-4. Myers gets credit for a run batted in on the sacrifice fly, and the Angels are getting back in this game.
Gary DiSarcina.
They've shown themselves to be a very enterprising offense tonight. And they've had some help because Messina has been far from the kind of sharp pitcher we've come to expect.
Gary DiSarcina hit a high chopper off the plate and beat it out for a base hit in the 3rd inning. Runners at first and second, 1 out, 7-4 Orioles. Fastball beaten foul.
I'll tell you what, each and every night out as a pitcher, you're not going to be your best. And there are going to be some nights when you're a little off center. The ball doesn't go where you want it to. The ball's not breaking as sharply as you'd like. Maybe you got in late last night on a road trip and you got to come out here in the afternoon on a hot day and try to get out a team that hadn't scored in 22 innings. And it looks like the Angels are anxious to put that ball in play this evening.
Slow roller foul. And the count is 0-2 to DeSarcina. Well, if Messina can't pitch well tonight, the Orioles got to be a little concerned because their pitching has been very spotty lately. Ben McDonald has not pitched well in his last 2 starts. Sid Fernandez is on the disabled list. Arthur Rose got whacked in his first start back from AAA. Mike Oquist has been up and down. Jamie Moyer has pitched decently in his last 2 starts, but is 2-6. But this is the guy you really count on. Very rarely does Mike Messina have a bad outing. One and 2. Messina is just so remarkably consistent. He's worked into the 6th inning in all of his 17 starts this year, and into the 7th inning in 14 out of 17 starts.
Well, he's the stopper, Mel, and when you lose a game and it's his turn to go next in the rotation, you naturally expect him to pitch as well as he usually does. But you can't do it all the time.
Another chop. This one will kick off foul.
Looks like he's working on that. Had that stayed fair, they would not have gotten him again.
A lot of speculation that the Orioles might be shopping for pitching help. Tom Gordon of Kansas City's name was mentioned. Kevin Tapani and Scott Erickson of the Twins, names that have surfaced, but you don't figure Minnesota is going to be trading any pitchers. They're in contention.
Kansas City's there too. They're not going to be trading anybody.
So it's hard to go out at this stage of the season and get somebody that's really going to help you.
Throw that wild card in there, and that's made a lot of ball clubs eager to keep their talent.
Up and in. 2-2 to DeSarcina. 7 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Orioles. 4 runs, 7 hits, and 2 errors for the Angels. Chad Curtis at second. JT Snow is at first. A comebacker to Messina. He fires to second. Cal Ripken to first. Double play. 1-6 to 3 to end the inning. But the Angels score twice to cut the Oriole lead to 7-4.
Well, welcome back to Camden Yards. Got a lot of hellos to Rocky in York, Pennsylvania. Also, I think we got a bunch of them here. Happy birthday to Sean Como, who is 9 years old today. His father Dennis wishes him the happy birthday. Hello to Glenn and Julie watching HTS in Hagerstown, and also Pete, Gary from Linthicum, Bill Cook from Pasadena, and also the Hummer, make that the Hammer softball team from Arbutus. Hello to them. Now we're going to take a look at those Miller Lite highlights. We're going to begin with the Atlanta Braves and the Florida Marlins. Top of the first inning, Ryan Klesko facing Mark Gardner. And with Lemke on at first and Roberto Kelly on at third, Klesko will hit a fly ball to center field. That'll score Roberto Kelly, give the Braves a 1-0 lead. With the 1 out in the first inning, Lemke on at third, Fred McGriff on at first. Dave Justice hits a ground ball to first. It's mishandled there. An error charge to Greg Colburn. Lemke scores from third, and the Braves lead it 2-0. And some more scoring a little bit later on in the bottom of the first inning. Dave Magadan at third, Jeff Conine on at second. RBI infield single by Greg Colburn to score Magadan. Braves 2-1. Since then, though, Fred McGriff has hit his 20th home run. Florida has battled back to tie the Braves in the 6th inning. It's the Braves 3 and Florida 3. So that's a look at our Miller Lite highlights. And just a reminder, don't forget, our next HTS game comes up on Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock as we start 6 straight games on HTS Monday through Saturday of next week. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
All right, Tom, the Orioles have the top of the order coming up. Brady Anderson, Chris Sabo, and Rafael Palmeiro to face reliever Mike Butcher. Joe McGrain started the game. It lasted just 2 1/3 innings and was charged with all 7 Oriole runs. Brady has grounded out twice tonight and has driven in a run. Breaking ball in the corner for a strike. Brady Anderson was the guy that was hit by Mike Butcher in that game earlier this year here at Camden Yards. He hit Brady and had 3 others ducking. I think I've ever seen a pitcher so wild. And Buck Rogers did the Orioles a favor by getting him out of the game.
And he still is second on this ball club in appearances after being sent down briefly.
He did a good job last year when he was recalled from AAA in June. They pressed him into service as a closer, and the opposition hit only .204 against him. He had 8 saves and 10 save opportunities. Doesn't throw real hard, but he has a good sinker when it's working. But he has to get ahead in the count.
He has the velocity to be able to pitch upstairs, but it seems like when he's focused down in the strike zone, as I mentioned earlier, everything seems to work much better for him. And that earned run average that he has right now of above 7 is going to come down gradually because of that. And again, it looks like the Orioles, the way that this game's going right now, Mel, that they're going to have to continue their bludgeoning ways at the plate. But they'll have to do it against a different pitcher.
1-2 to Brady Anderson. Strike 3. Brady slams his bat down and stalks toward the dugout. He and Terry Kraft exchanging words, and now it heats up. Johnny Oates sprinting out to try to get him before he gets thrown out. And now Johnny gets into it with Terry Kraft. Johnny Oates is gone. He's been ejected from the game for only the 2nd time this year. Johnny was thrown out in New York by John Shulock, but he doesn't come out and argue unless he really thinks he has a case. He has a lot of respect for the umpires and realizes they're trying to do the best job they can, but on this occasion, sticking up for Brady Anderson, got into it with Terry Kraft, and now he's gone.
Well, better the manager than the player. And there's only 4 or 5 words you can use to get you tossed out of the game, and evidently he used one of them.
Johnny does not use any of those words.
Well, he must have.
I have never heard him say a swear word. I don't think I've heard him say darn or heck. Well, maybe heck.
Well, heck's not going to get you tossed out of this one. You can see it was a borderline strike at best. I mean, good pitch for Butcher, not a good pitch for Brady. Yeah, I think Brady slamming his bat down there near the plate more or less precipitated this argument, this ongoing argument. But Terry was very emphatic in his call. No, there it was right there.
He missed it by that much.
When you start arguing balls and strikes, that'll get you eliminated. You don't have to use the 5 words.
Just a good description of the call will do it. Half swing by Chris Sabo, and it's 0-1.
Yeah, a little excitement like that gets the blood boiling.
Johnny's been out of the dugout a couple of times of late. In Cleveland the other night, he came out to argue a call by John Shulock. Albert Bell had a hooking drive down the left field line. The Orioles felt that it was a foul ball. Shulock, who really didn't hustle down the line to get a good look at it, called it fair and a home run. That was more of a discussion. This was an argument. Johnny is gone. Breaking ball outside, 1-2 to Sabo.
Well, you see Butcher throwing 3 straight balls out there off the plate, little sliders, hoping to duplicate the first 2 swings that Sabo took. Half-hearted offers at those 2 pitches. Actually, Sabo's probably most vulnerable where Butcher has thrown his last 3 than in any other place around that plate.
Got him.
Got some good stuff tonight. Much better than when we saw him last.
Butcher has struck out the last 3 batters he's faced. He fanned Tim Hewlett to end the 3rd, and he's punched out Brady Anderson and Chris Sabo in the 4th.
This is not a man pitching to an over 7 earned run average.
Well, Rafael Palmeiro was the hitter at the plate on April the 21st when Butcher sailed 2 pitches over his head, and Buck Rogers came out and said that's it and brought in the relief pitcher. Ball 1 to Rafi.
Yeah, but he's trimming the edges off the plate now.
Outside 2-0. Scott Lewis came in after Butcher had thrown 2 over Palmeiro's head, and then Palmeiro doubled in 2 runs off Lewis. Ball 3.
When you're high and wild, you run into trouble long ball distance wise, but when you're down in the strike zone, ground balls or sometimes doubles down the line, but nothing that's going to injure you.
Palmeiro walked his first time up against Joe McGray, and then hit a 2-run homer to right center field in the 2nd inning. Three and 1. Three and 2 to Palmeiro.
Well, you can see the Orioles are going to have to get right back into this game offensively again after taking a 3 or 4 batter hiatus here. Because it looks like the Angels feel as though they can compete tonight. Well, that might not have been the case earlier in the game before it started, looking out there and seeing the scene on the mound.
Two outs, nobody on, bottom of the 4th. It's 7-4 Orioles. That's high. Ball 4. Palmeiro walks for the 2nd time in the game. And you're asking for trouble by putting Palmeiro on ahead of Cal Ripken the way Cal's swinging the bat right now.
And that's because you do. You set the dining table for a hitter like this.
Cal tonight is fly to center and fly to right.
He's cleaned the table, cleaned his plate like a good lad.
But in his last 28 games, Cal has hit .354 with 7 home runs.
Oh.
Butcher's even a little wild to first.
Well, that's all right, because the first baseman's not in a crouch as much as the catcher.
Ball 1. Cal is 0 for 3 lifetime against Mike Butcher. Angels are shading Cal to pull slightly in the outfield. Still in the infield, not playing to pull as much as most teams do. Way high, 2-0. That looks more like the Mike Butcher we saw here in April.
Well, he's backing off to give a little thought, think about it a little bit. Try to reorganize his delivery.
Palmeiro is running, and Cal smokes one down the left field line. Into the corner it goes. Palmeiro's on his way to third. He's being waved home, And the throw to the plate, not in time. 8-4. Palmeiro was running on the pitch, and Cal Ripken brings him home with a double.
Well, they were hoping that Butcher would throw a strike, and he did, and Rip was all over this thing. Right up there about midway between the first two pitches that Butcher threw. And because he was running, he gets an advantage in scoring right here that you don't get when you don't run. But watch how quickly Edmonds gets up with that ball and hits the cutoff man. And Palmeiro doesn't slide. And that makes the play, a little closer than it would have been had that throw been right on the money.
Well, he doesn't slide because the next hitter, Leo Gomez, was telling him to stand up. The runner depends on the next hitter to tell him to stand up or to slide. But he made it.
That's all it counts.
Leo doesn't get paid to coach the bases. He gets paid to hit. He's 2 for 2 tonight with a single and a home run. Cal Ripken is now driven in 55 runs. That clipped the mask right off Greg Myers.
It takes a ball thrown down in the strike zone and an uppercut swing like that to knock his mask off. You're right about that. He's got his hands off before that ball's even coming up to the plate. You're right, though. His job description is not coach.
But that is the duty of the next hitter, to try to help the runner. Tell him to slide or tell him to come in standing up. High fly ball to shallow center field. Chad Curtis coming in and makes the catch, but the Orioles pick up another run at the end of 4. They now lead the Angels 8-4. The Sherwin-Williams pitching update on Oriole right-hander Mike Messina. He has thrown 49 pitches, 35 strikes, 14 balls so far. He has not been as sharp as he normally is, but does have an 8-4 lead.
That's right. No, he couldn't ask for more support than his mates have given him this evening. He's been slightly askew in what he is trying to accomplish out there on the mound.
Switch hitting third baseman Spike Owen will lead off the 5th inning. He's grounded out and reached on a fielder's choice. Owen has been swinging the bat very well. He hit .317 in June with 2 home runs. Off-speed pitch for a strike. Spike was with the Yankees last year. They signed him as a free agent, paid him a lot of money, and thought that he could plug up a hole at shortstop, but he didn't hit much. Mike Gallego came on strong and really played shortstop the majority of the time during the second half of the season. And so Owen was expendable. Had some good years up in Montreal, and then Will Cordero came along and developed, and so Owen was let go there. Two and one to Spike. As a shortstop, he's always been a very reliable guy. A guy who will catch the balls that hit at him and make the routine plays. He doesn't have the range of some of the other shortstops, but usually pretty sure-handed. But he has committed an error tonight that let in a run, playing third base. 3-1.
Well, his bag is usually good defense. Not going to hit home runs, though he's hit 2, as you mentioned.
When Mike Messina's pitching well, it's strike 1, strike 2, get ahead in the count, get the hitter out. Just not as sharp tonight. 3-1. Make it 3-2 to Owen.
He has to show the Orioles that he can win with less than his best stuff out there on the mound, and he's done that before. But it has been a struggle through 4+ innings right here.
Foul back.
And when you're not hitting the corners like you'd like, and then they foul a good pitch back that you throw right there and expect to get an out on, it makes you have to redouble your efforts again.
Sliced foul out of play.
See, another tough pitch fouled off. I tell you, in the year of the Super Bowl, we have seen more pitches fouled off, and then the counts eventually drag on. Although this one is 3-2 right now, and then have that ball sail all over the yard. We've had 14 hits pounded out already.
Fastball hit in the air to left center field, and Brady Anderson is there. One out in the fifth. Chris Hoyles and Mike Messina talk things over as Harold Reynolds comes up for the third time. Reynolds is grounded to third and blooped a base hit to the outfield in the third inning. Harold will bunt for a base hit on occasion. The Orioles play in a bit at the corners. Sabo is in at third, Palmeiro at first. On the appeal, yes, says Jim Joyce. He swung and it's 0-1.
You know, he's gotten more at bats early this year than I thought he'd get from the Angels. Mel, he's up there around 185. He's approaching 200. And that was Harold's major concern.
Looked like he wanted to bunt on that pitch. Last year when he was with the Orioles, he was a much better hitter from the left side. He hit .279 left-handed and .179 right-handed. Diving attempt by Hewlett, but he can't come up with it. Reynolds has his second base hit. Harold's hitting about the same from either side of the plate this year. .250 right-handed, .234 left-handed.
You know, another one of those slow motion swings by Harold right here, and it looked like Timmy was going to come up with that thing because it certainly wasn't out of his reach. He just scooted by him.
It's a good thing the Orioles are scoring runs tonight because Mike Messina's given up 8 hits in 4 1/3 innings. Tim Salmon hit a home run off Mike in the first inning, then grounded into a double play to end the third. Knuckle curve misses, ball 1.
Yeah, and again, the business end of that lineup's coming up with somebody on base. So you got to dig deep when you're on the mound and you're struggling like this, because these hitters are sitting back and they're ready to ambush anything out over the plate.
Tim Salmon was the Rookie of the Year in the American League last year when he hit .283 with 31 homers, drove in 95 runs. Fastball in, and it's 2-0. And last year when he had that great season, he did most of his damage against right-handed pitching. He hit .300 and hit 24 of his 31 home runs off right-handers, which is unusual. You would expect him to do better against left-handed pitching.
I'll tell you what, Mel, anywhere from right center to the left field foul line, he can eat up some real estate. Because the balls that Timmy hits into the air, they don't stop carrying.
Uh-oh. High in the air to left field, and this one is gone. Question is, will Mike Messina survive the fifth? It's now 8-6. Salmon's second home run of the game. This doesn't look like Mike has much tonight.
Well, that's the example we were talking about right there. Someone can eat up the real estate between the home plate area and the wall. And did he not ambush it? He is all over this.
He now has 18 for the year.
And again, that ball spanked very, very high into the air.
And Mike Messina, who had allowed only 12 home runs all year, has given up 4 tonight.
Timmy's going to go back there and take a look at that one.
It's 8-6 Orioles, and Chili Davis, who homered his last time up, takes a strike. Sure, Johnny Oates would like to see Messina at least get 5 innings in and be in position to pick up a win. But he's very wobbly right now. And Mark Eichhorn is back up in the Oriole bullpen. The 1-1 to Chili Davis.
As much as they'd like to see him get his 12th win, you can throw that out the window. because they want to see a victory up on the boards, and they have to do it with our Eichhorn coming in here in the 5th inning. They'll do it.
Davis lines it foul, and it's 1-2. The 4 home runs allowed by Mike tonight are the most he's given up in a game this year.
Biagini has seen enough of his team's balls fly out of here. You know, sometimes it can put you to sleep to watch the other team hit them.
And Greg handles the club when Johnny Oates does not. They took over the club in New York when Johnny was tossed, and he also ran the club in a game that Johnny missed here because of the high school graduation of his son. Greg was a very successful manager in the Orioles minor league system. One and 2 to Chili Davis. 8-6 Orioles. We're in the 5th. Half swing by Davis, and he strikes out. That's the first strikeout tonight for Mike Messina. That's another rarity. Not only the 4 home runs, but when he only has 1 strikeout.
Well, Chili is such a good breaking ball hitter, as we mentioned last time, that home run come on a breaking ball, that he's often eager to swing the bat when he sees that pitch approaching up there. But that was just thrown in a good spot for Mike.
Jim Edmonds has grounded out, singled, and scored a run.
But we have seen a brutish display of power tonight from both clubs.
Another well-hit ball to deep left field. Back goes Brady Anderson, and this one is gone.
You probably got to make a change here.
5 home runs off Mike Messina.
Because if you even talk to Mike, he'll tell you he doesn't deserve this win tonight.
It's now 8-7 Orioles.
Now that display of a continued monstrous ability to reach the outfield seats goes the other way with his bolt here. My, the loft we've seen on the balls tonight. Not those screaming line drives, but deep drives.
Well, Johnny Oates normally makes the pitching changes when he comes out. Always makes the pitching changes, as a matter of fact, but he's been ejected from this game. So let's see if Boz is going to go to the bullpen.
That doesn't look like a discussion about taking him out.
You're going to stay with him.
He's had a couple discussions with him already. Hasn't really changed things.
Oh, I mean, he's given up 7 runs, 10 hits, and 5 home runs, and he's still in the game. And Chad Curtis, who's already taken him deep, comes up again. Curtis is 2 for 2 against Messina tonight. And his lifetime, he's now 10 for 23 against Mike.
Just to push someone through the game because he's 11-4 and he wants the 12th victory, that's not the way to do it.
Ball 1.
The way to do it is to be able to make 8 runs stand up for your ball club, not to watch the other team whittle it away. It's quite obvious that Mike is far from having his best stuff out on the mound.
Well, the Orioles have hit 3 homers. The Angels have hit 5. The combined total of 8 is a new record here at Camden Yards. And we're only in the 5th inning. 1-1 to Chad Curtis.
He's given the Angels hope. You know, when after the 3rd inning, they might have thought they didn't have any tonight. They were down 7-2.
Strike 2, 1-2. Messina just trying to survive the 5th. 8 runs, 7 hits for the Orioles. 7 runs, 10 hits for the Angels. Drive to deep right field. Back goes Jeffrey Hammonds on the warning track and drops the ball. Curtis on his way to 3rd, slams on the brakes, heads back, and gets in safely, and Cal Ripken can't believe it. He thought he got him. Cal arguing with Jim McKean, the second base umpire. Hammonds will be charged with a two-base error on the drop.
Well, I don't know what happened here. Must have closed his eyes or something. I don't think I've seen anybody miss a ball quite like that.
This is a very strange night.
I haven't seen a full moon out there, but there probably is one. Cal thinking that Jim McKean missed that one, and he was very emphatic in his discussion with Jim.
And now the Angels have the tying run at second base.
Chad had gotten a little too far off that base.
J.T. Snow is the hitter. He takes a strike.
But that drop ball, that just adds to Messina's misery out there on the mound.
He's having enough trouble on his own.
I don't know what happened on that one. Beth Plucker, you could have caught that one.
Fastball inside, 1-1. Chad Curtis is second base. He represents the tying run. One and two.
Well, Chad was rounding first. He was heading to the center field position. And a stroke of good luck allowed him to go to second.
Well, this is the way Mike Hargrove managed in Cleveland, staying with his starting pitchers when they were getting battered. But he had a reason. He has no bullpen.
Yeah.
They let Charles Nagy throw 140 pitches in the first game of that series. He gave up 10 hits. The next night, Jason Grimsley worked into the ninth and gave up 14 hits. Popped up foul. Usually, because Messina has so many different pitches, he can find some way to do it. He doesn't have a good fastball. He can use his changeup, knuckle curve. The night against Oakland, his four-seam fastball really wasn't working too well, so he threw the two-seamer, the sinking fastball, started getting a lot of ground balls. But tonight, nothing seems to be working.
It's location for him tonight. It's quite apparent.
In the air to right center field, and Mike Devereaux is back to make the catch, and the inning is finally over. But the Angels score 3 and hit a pair of home runs off Messina to cut the Oriole lead to 8-7.
Hi, welcome back to Camden Yards here in Baltimore. Happy birthday to Brian Crockett from Crisfield, Maryland. He's 11 years old. Butch Hobson suspended 5 games for his altercation with umpire Greg Kosk the other night. We're going to take a look now at the Washington Post scoreboard. The Seattle Mariners lead the Yankees 3-1 in the 7th inning. Dan Wilson has driven in 2 of the 3 runs for Seattle with a home run and a single. Randy Johnson, the pitcher for Seattle, struck out 11 through 5 innings. That means 11 of the 15 outs were recorded on strikes. Danny Tartable doubled in the Yankees' run. Oakland is leading Boston 5-2 in the 9th inning. Troy Neal, a 2-run double. Mickey Steinbeck also had a double, and Ruben Sierra singled in a run. The Detroit Tigers lead Texas 6-5 in the 8th inning. Kirk Gibson a scoring fly ball plus his 14th home run. Toronto now leads Kansas City 3-1. They're in the 6th. Joe Carter doubled in 1. Mike Huff with a 2-run single. Cleveland now on top of Minnesota 6-1 in the 8th inning. Carlos Baerga singled in 1. Albert Bell doubled in 1. Manny Ramirez a scoring fly ball, and Kenny Lofton hit his 9th home run. This all came after Eddie Murray started things off with a 2-run homer, his 12th. Chicago on top of Milwaukee 1-0 in the 5th. Julio Franco knocked in that run. Cincinnati leads Pittsburgh 4-1 in the 7th. Atlanta and Florida tied at 3 in the 8th inning. Cubs are blanking Houston 2-0 in the 6th. And St. Louis 5, Colorado nothing. They're now in the 4th inning. Greg Jeffries with a 2-run homer, his 8th this season. That's the Washington Post scores. And just a reminder to join me weekday mornings on the Rouse & Company Show, WQSR, the Good Time Oldies station here in Baltimore from 5:30 to 10. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
All right, Tom, the ball's been flying out of here tonight. Total of 8 home runs, 5 by the Angels, 3 by the Orioles. That is a new Camden Yards record. It also ties the Baltimore record. The Angels and Orioles combined for 8 home runs in 1987 at Memorial Stadium. California hit 6 in that game. Sherwin-Williams update on Mike Butcher. 34 pitches, 19 strikes.
Well, he's earned himself a much more firm standing now out on that mound. Angels heavy hitters have again made a game out of this one.
1-0 to Chris Hoyles.
And are we still in Cleveland? I mean, this game very much reminiscent of at least 3 of the 4 at Jacobs Field. 8-7 in the bottom of the 5th. An exciting game if you're a fan sitting in the stands here tonight.
Slider low on the appeal. Yes, says the first base umpire Ed Hickox, and the count is 1-1.
Oh, that's it.
Wild Ed Hickox.
We'll see.
Part of Butcher's problems last year was that he really could not go more than 2 innings, because if he went 3 or 4 innings, he was facing hitters the second time through the order, and he doesn't have a great variety in his pitches with a fastball and slider, and they would begin to hit him the second time through the order.
Well, that means you get someone up when that occurs.
And they have 2 men up in the bullpen.
And you think he's hit a peak in his stamina and in his variety going around again, you get someone up.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Chris Hoyles, but the Orioles don't have anybody up, even though Mike Messina's given up 10 hits, 7 runs, and 5 home runs, which is a career high in home runs allowed.
Quite frankly, to me, that's amazing, because it's quite apparent that Mike has dragged him through the first 5 innings here, and dragged his team through the mud at the same time, but he still has a 1-run lead, and that's remarkable in itself.
I thought maybe they were just trying to get 5 innings out of it, and then they'd go to the bullpen, but there's nobody up. Craig Lefferts, who spent some time with the Orioles, the left-hander, and Russ Springer, the right-hander, throwing in the bullpen for the Angels.
After seeing these balls leave the yard, maybe no one wants to get up in that Orioles bullpen tonight.
Hammers one to deep right center field. Chad Curtis racing back, leaps, and makes the catch, stealing a home run. That one was headed over the wall, and he brought it back.
I'll tell you what, I thought this was going up into the bleachers, not just beyond the fence. This is an absolutely peachy play right here on the part of Chad Curtis. That wall did not deny him one bit, did not slow up a bit, pursued it right to the end. Watch him snag it. Oh, baby, that was heading out of here. What a great play.
Brought it back.
Look at this effort. That's clearly gone.
Ball 1 to Jeffrey Hammonds, who's gotten into the act tonight. He hit a home run in the 3rd. Ball is flying tonight.
Oh, is it ever.
High fly ball to shallow center field. Curtis in a couple of steps. 2 outs.
As Hoyles hit that pitch down on his knees and funneled it up into the air and into the atmosphere, and Curtis just pulled one out of his pants.
Mike Devereaux up for the 3rd time. He's flying to left and reached on an error. Ball 1. Two and 0. Mike Butcher's allowed 1 run on 1 hit. And he's walked 1 and struck out 3.
He got a Great play there from Chad Curtis, denying the Orioles from scoring in 5 consecutive innings.
Curtis has made the last 3 putouts. 2-1 to Debo.
We have seen a definite momentum change in this game. But still, you have to bounce ahead to win, and the Angels have to have that in reserve. It's nice to score 7 runs, but you're going to have to score 9 to win tonight. So they'll need to continue to get the kind of pitching they've gotten from Mike Butcher.
Mike Devereaux lifts a fly ball to center. There's Curtis again. The last 4 putouts by Angel center fielder Chad Curtis, and that ends the inning. At the end of 5, the Orioles lead the Angels 8-7. They've got a wild one going to Camden Yards tonight with the Orioles leading 8-7. Mike Messina staggered through 5 innings and finally is taken out. Mark Eichhorn takes over in the 6th. Messina went 5 innings. He allowed a total of 7 runs on 10 hits, walked 1, struck out 1, and gave up a career high 5 home runs.
Well, the Angels hitters, Mel, tonight were oppressive in their stalking of Mike Messina. And they pushed him. Mike pushed himself as far as he could tonight. He just didn't have much in the tank.
Greg Myers, Gary DiSarcina, and Spike Owen coming up to face Eichhorn, who has been on an incredible roll lately. Said it's the best roll of his big league career. The Orioles' recent road trip, he won 3 games. He won Friday night and Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon in Toronto, and then pitched Wednesday at Cleveland. He went 4 2/3 innings, a season high, to record his 3rd win. 3rd win of the road trip. Everything's working pretty well right now. His good movement on his fastball, his breaking ball is breaking about 2 feet. Fork ball's working. Bounce to Tim Hewlett. 1 out.
Well, you know, Mel, his pitches have not been flopping around the strike zone. You know, when he's meant to throw it away, it's been away. When he's decided to come in, it's been in with precision. And that's why he uses the defense, especially the interior defense in the infield here, is probably as well as any pitcher in that bullpen. Because of that.
Gary DiSarcina has reached on an infield hit and grounded into a double play. He drops a bunt. Hewlett charges, bare hands, throws, got him! What a play! Just a terrific play by Tim Hewlett.
That's a sanity preserver right there, Mel. Not often are you going to sprint in like this and be able to control the ball with your bare hand and get something on it the first in time. I mean, that was a superb bunt right there. Great bunt by DiSarcina. Just didn't work. Oh, marvelous gesture on Hewlett's part.
Spike Owen up for the 4th time with 2 outs and nobody on. Strike 1 to Spike. It was 3 for 10 lifetime against Mark Eichhorn.
Oh, Mel, they needed an easy inning, and it looks like Eichhorn is on his way to doing that for them.
Another ground ball back to Eichhorn. Takes care of the Angels. They go in order. Go to the bottom of the 6th. So the Orioles ahead 8-7.
And welcome back to Baltimore's Camden Yards. Beautiful night for baseball. The Orioles and the Angels in the first of a 3-game series here. We're going to take a look at some of those Miller Lite highlights of the Chicago Cubs and the Houston Astros down at the Astrodome in pickup action. Doug Drabek on the mound facing Sammy Sosa in a scoreless game. And Sammy Sosa, who's been one of the better power hitters for the Chicago Cubs in recent times, has hit a home run to left field that puts the Cubs up 1-0 in the first inning. That coming off of Doug Drabek. The Chicago-Houston game continues on in the 2nd inning with 1 out. Derek May on at 3rd, Steve Buechele on at 1st, and Rick Wilkins, the catcher, will hit a A fly ball that produces a run, scoring Derek May from third. Cubs lead it 2-0. Right now the game is in the 7th inning with the Cubs on top of Houston by a score of 2-0. So that's the Miller Lite highlights here on HTS. And just a reminder to join me weekday mornings on the Rouseing Company Show, 105.7 WQSR. Good time always station between 5:30 and 10 o'clock right here in Baltimore. Also, don't forget that our next series of games here on HTS begins Monday and runs all the way through Saturday. 6 straight games when Seattle and Oakland comes to town. O's TV picks up the coverage tomorrow and Sunday here as the California Angels continue this series with the Birds. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
And a pitching change for the California Angels. Russ Springer takes over. Mike Butcher worked 2 2/3 innings. He allowed 1 run on 1 hit, walked 1, struck out 3.
Well, the Orioles are hoping this is a spring in the wrong direction as far as they're concerned. He hopes that, I'm sure they hope that he pitches to his earned run average right there, but this is a funny kind of game right here. And we saw 15 runs scored in the first 5 innings, and in any one game, especially the last 3 or 4 innings of the game, you can see it shut down by the bullpen. Maybe that'll happen tonight.
Russ Springer was recalled from Vancouver on June the 9th. He was 7-4 there with a 3.04 earned run average. Was used as a starting pitcher, now working out of the bullpen for the Angels. He'll face Tim Hewlett, Brady Anderson, and Chris Sabo in the bottom of the 6th. Hewlett is 1 for 2 with a single and has struck out. He takes a fastball high.
But that was a divine play that Timmy made at second base on that bunt by DiSarcina. Full throttle, was able to scoop that ball up and get the out.
2-0.
You can see Springer's got some velocity. He's got a little jump to that fastball. And usually has pretty good command of it.
Springer is still another pitcher out of LSU, like Ben McDonald and Chad Ojay of the Indians, Mark Guthrie of the Twins, Albert Bell, Jack Voigt, not pitchers, but all from Louisiana State University. School's turned out a lot of big leaguers.
Well, he's had 3 starts in his own right. They're just trying to discover where his strengths lie.
3-2 to Tim Hewlett. Springer was acquired from the Yankees along with J.T. Snow and Jerry Nielsen in the Jim Abbott deal in December of '92. Ball 4, and he puts the leadoff man on.
Well, that hasn't been a healthy sign in this game when it's occurred. And the Orioles are going to have to jump right back into the swing of things right here. We've seen the Angels score 5 out of the last 6 runs on the scoreboard.
Brady Anderson is 0 for 3 tonight with a run batted in. He drove in a run with a ground out in the 2nd inning. Inside, ball 1. Springer throws hard, routinely 92 to 94 miles an hour. Also has a decent curveball and has been working on an off-speed pitch. Ground ball on the right side. Reynolds feeds DiSarcina over to first. Got him. Double play.
Well, that's what Springer needed, and that's what he got. That's how you spring out of a potentially tough jam and get out of the inning. Made to order right here, even with Brady running.
Chris Sabo comes up with 2 outs. Sabo has been hit by a pitch, reached on an error and struck out, and has scored twice. Also has a stolen base. Smoked into left field. Jim Edmonds runs it down. Chris Sabo is digging for second base. The throw is offline, and Sabo is in with a double. Sabo's not a very big guy, but he hits some balls hard.
Oh, he's an outstanding fastball hitter. And you can see that trigger mechanism that he uses when he starts the bat in front and then takes it back. And there's no hesitation on his part whatsoever when he hits a line drive over that third baseman's head. He's going to go to second base. And he can measure it here because he can see Edmonds all the way. And that ball's a little off the line. He just continues to saunter right into second.
You know, it appears to me that he's a good fastball hitter, and I mentioned that to hitting instructor Greg Biagini, who said, you know, Sabo told me he's a better breaking ball hitter.
Nah, he's giving you a line right there.
Why would he do that?
I don't know. I mean, they sucker him on breaking balls off the plate all the time. I mean, we can see that he's an outstanding fastball hitter. Quite apparent.
Rafael Palmeiro's walked twice and hit a 2-run homer tonight. One and one.
Now they've been feeding Palmeiro many more off-speed pitches. So you'd think that he'd be more in tune with someone like Springer, who throws the ball exceptionally hard.
Fastball, I don't know where that was. Maybe a little outside. 2-1.
Oh, Lee, that was a good pitch. Just watch where it is in relation to the plate and where he's standing. It's right down the middle.
It's the high strike that's never called.
Yeah, you're right.
Palmeiro drills it into right field. Chris Sabo around third. He'll come in to score to make it 9-7. I got to ask Chris where he goes sometimes. Every time he scores a run, he goes right down the steps and disappears.
He's not into that high five stuff. Sabo clocks a fastball, and Palmeiro gets a changeup and belts it into right center for a run. Right after, almost hitting with one arm.
Sabo down the steps and gone. Ball one to Cal Ripken. Palmeiro's driven in 3 runs tonight. Now has 46 RBI for the year. 9-7 Orioles. Cal doubled in a run in the 4th inning. Palmeiro was running on the pitch, and he doubled in the left field corner. Palmeiro came around to score. 2-0. Chris Sabo's had a good night. He's scored 3 runs, has a base hit, a stolen a base.
Spuds never disappoints.
Ball 3. You can understand the reluctance of pitchers to throw the ball around the plate tonight, the way the ball's flying out of here. 8 home runs total. The Angels have hit 5. The Orioles have hit 3, with Palmeiro, Gomez, and Hammonds all connecting. Fisted foul right back at us.
I heard that crack in your voice of some desperation.
That was called fear.
Flecker was ready to vault over in front of you there to grab it.
She has more range than I do.
Yeah, more bulk. Look at that. My.
A drive to right field and deep. Back goes Salmon, and it's gone. Another home run. And with that home run, these two teams have set a new Baltimore record for most home runs in a game. That is 9 of them.
Well, lightning has struck, Mel. And Springer should probably utilize that forkball. He's working on the grip instead of that fastball right there. That was a bolt, a liner.
Right over the 373-foot sign in right field. Number 11 for Cal Ripken. The 4th home run by the Orioles tonight. The Angels have hit 5. 9 home runs total, breaking the old Baltimore record of 8. They'd already broken the Camden Yards record. And they may not be finished. We're in the 6th inning. 11-7 Orioles. Russ Springer has given up 3 consecutive extra base hits. Doubles by Sabo and Palmeiro, and a 2-run homer by Cal Ripken.
Well, that put the buzz back in the crowd.
High drive to right field, and Tim Salmon comes in. That does it, but the Orioles get 3 more and now lead 11-7. The Roy Rogers game summary. Tim Salmon's solo homer in the first ended the Angels' 22-inning scoreless streak. Mike Messina struggled, allowing 7 runs on 10 hits, but could still pick up a win. He worked only 5 innings, and these two teams have combined for 9 home runs, the most home runs ever hit in this ballpark, and also a new Orioles record.
Well, the hitters, Mel, have certainly warmed to the dimensions of Camden Yards, not to mention what they've been seeing from the mound.
Harold Reynolds, who's 2 for 3, leads off the 7th against Mark Eichhorn. Strike one. Eichhorn came in the 6th and retired the Angels in order. Tim Salmon has hit 2 homers. Chad Curtis, Chili Davis, and Jim Edmonds have connected for the Angels. For the Orioles, Rafael Palmeiro, Leo Gomez, Jeffrey Hammonds, and Cal Ripken have hit home runs. Reynolds with a bunt, pops it up. Hewlett fires to first. Got him! He's made 2 sparkling plays on bunts. It was the swinging bunt variety by Reynolds, but Hewlett gets him anyway.
I thought as soon as that cleared Eichhorn's head right there that was a gimme as far as a hit was concerned. He placed that thing perfectly. It was probably unintentional, but look who's right there to meet it.
Right fielder, Tim Salmon.
Tim Salmon comes up for the 4th time. He has hit 2 home runs tonight, a solo in the first, a 2-run shot in the 5th. Well, in the old days, if a hitter hit 2 home runs, next time he came up, you could expect him to go down.
I think it's too much of a gentleman's game today. Sometimes things flare up, but this is almost too good of a night to interrupt the game with something like that.
1-1.
Especially as well and as fluid as Eichhorn is pitching the ball right now. I mean, not only have we seen a dazzling display of home runs and some outstanding defensive plays, Eichhorn has been in that category himself of his last several outings.
Hitters are just finding it so difficult to try to hit the ball in the air off Eichhorn. Everything's down around the knees, sinking or turning over or moving in some direction. I can't recall a middle reliever having a better run than the one that Eichhorn is enjoying right now.
I can't either.
Grounded foul.
Well, you can see right there a lot of that drop on his pitch is according to lack of velocity, but he can control it. That's hard to do.
Seattle leads the Yankees 3-2 in the 8th inning. That's low, and it's 2-2. Mark Eichhorn spent some time with the California Angels. They signed him as a free agent December of '89. He spent the 90, 91, and part of the 92 season with California before he was traded back to Toronto, where he played before. He got into 70 games with the Angels in '91.
Like an old Bordeaux wine, he just keeps getting better, and he's not that old to begin with.
Only 33. Yes, says the first base umpire. Ed Hickok's on the appeal, and that's a strikeout.
Just the slightest flinch from his intention right here got that call. Look at him trying to lift. He wanted to lift another one into the seats. That's the beauty of Eichhorn. Bottom falls right out of that pitch.
Mark has retired all 5 batters he's faced. And here's Chili Davis, who has one of the Angel home runs. A drive to right. Hammonds comes in to make the catch, and another 1-2-3 inning for Mark Eichhorn. The first ball they've hit in the air off of it. It's 11-7 Orioles.
Welcome back to Baltimore's beautiful Camden Yards here, the Washington Post scoreboard. Before we do that, we want to let you know that Butch Hobson has been suspended for 5 games in his somewhat rushing or bumping of umpire Greg Kusk the other night up at Fenway. Here's the scoreboard. Seattle leading the Yankees 3-2 in the 8th inning. Dan Wilson has driven in 2 for the Mariners. And Randy Johnson struck out 11 of the first 15 batters he faced. Johnson should be pitching against Mike Messina here next Wednesday when the Mariners come to town. Oakland has beaten Boston 6-3. Terry Steinbach with a RBI double. Troy Neal with a 2-run double on that one. Texas battled back to beat Detroit 10-6. Juan Gonzalez hit a grand slam, his 3rd career slam, and his 12th home run for the season. Elsewhere, Kansas City and Toronto tied at 3 in the 7th inning. Joe Carter doubled in 1 for the Blue Jays, and Mike Huff with a 2-run single. Brent Maine driven in 2 of the Kansas City 3 runs. Jose Lean the other. Cleveland defeated the Minnesota Twins 6-1. Eddie Murray a 2-run homer, his 12th. Kenny Lofton a solo shot, his 9th. Other runs driven in by Carlos Baerga, Albert Bell, and Manny Ramirez as the Indians won 6-1 over the Twins. The White Sox lead Milwaukee 6-0 in the 6th. Julio Franco has driven in 3 for the Chicago White Sox. Lance Johnson and Ozzie Guillen have also driven in runs. Cincinnati in the National League on top of Pittsburgh 4-2 now in the 9th inning. Atlanta and Florida are tied at 3 there in the 10th inning. Cubs 2-0 over Houston in the 8th. Sammy Sosa with a home run. Rick Wilkins with a scoring fly ball. And the Cardinals getting a 2-run homer from Greg Jeffries en route to a 6-4 lead over the Colorado Rockies with that game now in the 5th inning. So that's a look at the Washington Post scores. Don't forget O's TV for the coverage over the weekend. Then HTS starts a string of 6 games Monday through next Saturday right before the All-Star break. Let's go back upstairs now to Mel Proctor and John Lowenstein.
All right, thank you, Tom. And Craig Lefferts will be the next Angel pitcher to be thrown to the Wolves tonight. He comes in the 7th inning, picking up for Russ Springer. Springer worked 1 inning. He allowed 3 runs on 3 hits, walked 1, struck out none, and gave up a 2-run homer to Cal Ripken. And Lefferts might fit right in a game like this. His numbers are not too attractive. The league is hitting .349 against him.
But you know, that doesn't correspond with an earned run average of under 4. I don't know how he's manufactured that, but on an evening like this, that earned run average doesn't mean a thing.
And he's given up 45 hits in 31 2/3 innings.
The way that ball's been bursting into the atmosphere tonight, could be in trouble.
Let's go for double-digit home runs. We've got 9. We want 10.
Be a night to remember. It already is.
Ball 1 to Chris Hoyles, leading off the 7th inning. Craig Lefferts played with the Orioles in 1992. After being acquired from San Diego, and he goes 2-0 to Hoyles. So good hitting count. Hoyles hasn't gotten in on the act, although he almost did in the 5th. He had a tremendous blast to right center, which Chad Curtis brought back over the fence.
Well, there have been good hitting counts all evening long.
He lays off a high fastball, and it's 3-0. Hoyles will be followed by Jeffrey Hammonds and Mike Devereaux in the 7th. Craig Lefferts, a relief pitcher most of his career, but had some success in '92 with the Padres as a starter. He went 13-9 that year.
High fly ball to deep left field. Way back. Number 10. It's gone. The 10th home run of the game.
Number 14 for Hoyles. Each team has now hit 5 home runs in this game, a total of 10.
Oh, not a good night for pitching, I'll tell you that right now. Didn't we say earlier that Terry Kraft was a hitter's umpire? And boy, isn't he proving it true tonight. Of course, the pitchers have had a lot to do with that. And look at this ball climbing to the moon.
Ball 1 to Jeffrey Hammonds, and we've received some additional information. There's the Tim Hoyle's dish in Wayne, Ohio. I'm sure Papa's enjoying that one. Don't go away from the TV tonight, Mr. Hoyles.
Down the line and deep, and gone! Another home run. And that home run has just tied the Major League record for most home runs in one game by 2 teams. The 11th home run of the game.
That makes it 13-7. Hammond's 2nd home run of this game. This is a night to remember.
The Orioles and Angels version of Canadian League football on hand here at Camden Yards.
One more home run will break the Major League record for most home runs in a game.
Oh, another bullet. This of the screaming variety, not the lofted fly ball.
Mike Devereaux grounds it in the hole. Long throw for DeSarcina. Got him for the first out. To pass along some additional information we've received. We told you earlier that these teams had broken the Oriole record and the Camden Yards record for most home runs. We've got some additional information. The 10 home runs is an Orioles home record for Memorial Stadium and Camden Yards. And the 11th home run, which was just struck by Hammonds, has tied the club record. You might recall a game in 1987 in Toronto when the Blue Jays hit 10 and the Orioles hit 1. That was the Major League record. 11 in one game by those 2 teams, and the Orioles and Angels have tied that. So with one more, we'll have a new Major League record.
A very lusty evening at the plate.
I've never seen anything like this.
Neither have I.
Off-speed pitch is swung on and missed. A rude greeting for Craig Lefferts. Chris Hoyles took him deep. Hammonds followed. Back-to-back homers.
Well, we predicted that might be the case. It looks like tonight you've got to be especially enterprising on the mound to get away with anything.
Half swing by Hewlett. He goes around.
These hitters now starting to jump out of their socks trying to hit that ball. Going to have to throw some of those disappearing pitches.
The Orioles have hit 6 home runs tonight. The Angels have hit 5.
It's a frightening night to step up to that pitching rubber.
Strike 1 to Brady Anderson.
$20 runs and 22 hits.
Both Jeffrey Hammonds and Tim Salmon have hit 2 home runs apiece. Brady Anderson sends a fly ball to right. Salmon broke the wrong way, but recovers and makes the catch for the 3rd out. But the Orioles get back-to-back home runs from Chris Hoyles and Jeffrey Hammonds and now lead 13-7. We've got one of the wildest games in Oriole history going tonight, with the Orioles leading the California Angels 13-7. These teams have hit 11 home runs. But the Orioles get back-to-back home runs from Chris Hoyles and Jeffrey Hammonds and now lead 13-7. We've we've got one of the wildest games in Oriole history going tonight, with the Orioles leading the California Angels 13-7. These teams have hit 11 home runs to tie the major league record.
I'll tell you what, folks, we've got players not in the game itching to get in. Hitters, that is.
Jim Edmonds, who has one of the California home runs, leads off the 8th against Mark Eichhorn. It's strike one. Eichhorn has pitched 2 scoreless innings and has retired all 6 batters he's faced. What else is new?
Well, he's brought sanity to the pitching mound. The real benefactor in this game is Mike Messina.
For the Angels, Tim Salmon has hit 2 home runs. Chad Curtis, Chili Davis, and Jim Edmonds 1 apiece. For the Orioles, Jeffrey Hammonds has hit 2. Rafael Palmeiro, Leo Gomez, Chris Hoyles, and Cal Ripken have each hit 1. 11 total. High fly ball to right center field. Mike Devereaux fading back into the alley. See how well the ball is carrying tonight. That was a routine fly ball.
Did not we say in the opening that as the summer heats up here, the ball begins to fly? And I think we've seen a real indication of that tonight. More so than you could have ever expected.
From the Angels standpoint, though, we may have seen the end of their home run barrage, because Mark Eichhorn has allowed 1 home run in 46 innings. Chad Curtis hit 1 in the 2nd off Mike Messina. Beaten foul. Messina gave up 5 home runs.
Well, he dragged himself through 5 innings, but obviously he can win this ball game, and he's on a pace to win 23 this year.
Joe Gray and Bob Patterson, the left-hander, throwing in the Angel bullpen. We won't get a lot of volunteers on a night like this. Strike 2.
That's for sure. Chad's had himself a fine evening.
Been on base 3 times. He's homered, singled, and reached on the air when Jeffrey Hammonds dropped a fly ball in the 5th inning.
Also made a spectacular grab in right center field.
Foul ball. That was a home run he took away from Chris Hoyles in the 5th.
Otherwise, Chris would have had 2 dingers tonight. Joined a big party.
Somehow I can just picture the entire town of Wayne, Ohio, over at the Hoyles house tonight. That satellite dish fired up, watching this game.
They might be calling extra people just to get them over.
Mr. Hoyles be riding over the neighboring farm on his tractor. Recruiting people. There's the dish.
That's my boy.
Dish has been getting a workout tonight. High chopper foul. 13 runs, 12 hits, and 1 error for the Orioles. 7 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for the Angels.
The Orioles have some breathing room right now, and they needed it. Well, the Angels had picked up the pace early in the game.
It's so tough to hit the ball in the air off Eichhorn. He just pounded into dirt.
It's hard to hit the ball in the middle. When you're trying to hit a round ball with a round bat, and it just doesn't work when he's on the mound very often. It did early in the season when his mechanics were faulty. He wasn't getting an opportunity to throw as many innings as he liked. He worked on it endlessly in the bullpen, got things together again, and really has worked wonders out there on the mound since.
Ground ball by the diving third baseman Chris Sabo for a base hit, and Curtis is 3 for 4. It's the first Angel hit off Mark Eichhorn tonight. Wouldn't the Toronto Blue Jays love to have Eichhorn back the way he's pitched? Danny Cox, middle reliever, going down with an injury this year. He's been out all season. sure that in moments they've looked at the box scores and seen the zeros that Eichhorn has put up. JT Snow 0 for 2 of the walk. Ball 1. Eichhorn said he came to the Orioles because he felt his team would be in contention, and he also liked the idea of playing on a grass field. There goes the runner. Fly ball to left center field. Brady Anderson racing back to the warning track to make the catch. And Curtis hustles back to first.
It's a rarity when they hit the ball that far off of Eichhorn.
Just can't believe the way the ball's carrying tonight.
But again, that's 360 feet and not far from the fence.
Even the balls that don't go out carry to the warning track. Greg Myers is 0 for 2, drove in a run of the sacrifice fly in the 4th. The Orioles lead 13-7. We're on the top of the 8th. Ball 1. There goes the runner. Call strike, 1-1, and Curtis goes into second base uncontested. They may not even give him a stolen base. A lot of times in this situation, just rule a fielder's choice. And that's the scorer's decision by Bill Stepke. No stolen base. Fielder's choice. The Orioles electing not even to fool with him. Ground ball on the right side. Palmeiro is up with it. Over to Eichhorn covering for the out. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left for the Angels. We go to the bottom of the 8th. They're beamed in Wayne, Ohio, with the Orioles leading 13-7. Our research department has provided some additional information. These two teams have combined for 11 home runs, which has tied the Major League record. It's been done 3 times previously in the American League and 4 times in the National League. And as we told you most recently, until tonight, in 1987, when the Toronto Blue Jays and Orioles combined for 11 home runs, with Toronto hitting 10 of them. Ball 1 to Chris Sabo. Craig Lefferts worked 1 inning. He allowed 2 runs on 2 hits, both home runs, struck out 1, walked none. 1-1 to Sabo.
Well, the pitchers tonight have been equal opportunity employers in spreading around the home runs to both teams, so that's a good sign. Mentioned that Gray's the closer for this ball club.
Sabo trying to get in on the act with a vicious swing.
He's been in 28 games. He's only pitched 33 innings, so that gives you an indication of the fact that he is more or less a 1-inning pitcher in there to wrap the game up. But as we said, that's out of the question tonight. He's getting some work in.
Hit down the right field line. And in there. Fair ball. Sabo's digging for second. He wants more. Heading for third. And in easily with a triple. That's the 13th Oriole hit of this game.
He's got that magic wand working tonight, Mel. And he stretches out here to plant the slider right down there a couple of feet from the line, and then stretches it out himself for a 3-bagger. Watch where this pitch is. Slide ball, just flicks the bat at it. Plants it down there a few feet from the line. And because the ball scrambles around down in the corner there, and so does the right fielder, he goes for 3. Mr. Hustle.
Strike one to Rafael Palmeiro, who's walked twice, hit a 2-run homer, and doubled in a run, and driven in a total of 3 tonight.
And the pitchers have had a difficult time of shading the outside part of the plate tonight.
0-2 to Rafi.
Instead, they put a ribbon around that ball.
The Yankees and Seattle are tied 3-3 in the 8th. The Orioles would love to pick up a game on New York tonight. They'd hate to pound out 6 home runs and not be able to gain any ground.
Well, such is the case when you're playing as well as the Yankees are right now.
Palmeiro hammers one to deep right field. Way back. And caught by Tim Salmon on the warning track. Sabo will score to make it 14-7. But Palmeiro just missed. That would have set a new Major League record had it gone out. That would have been the 12th.
If you listen to the silent voice coming out of your heart, you're thinking that one's going up into the seats. Because it had the pop off the bat, the trajectory, everything but the distance.
Rafael Palmeiro has driven in 4 runs tonight. Strike one to Cal Ripken. Rafi would like to have more RBIs. Of course, people in the media compare his numbers to those of Will Clark in Texas. Will with far more RBIs. But he's been up a lot more times with runners in scoring position than Palmeiro has. Rafi's also hitting about .288 with runners in scoring position, which is not bad, but he'd like to be a little more productive. And tonight he's driven in 4 runs and now has a total of 47 runs batted in. But he's had a great year. He's hitting .326, 14 homers.
Just see what he does when people get on base. He and Will Clark, they're very similar hitters. And that they thrive under hitting pressure.
Cal hits a bouncer foul to the first base coach, Davey Lopes. Seattle has taken a 4-3 lead in the 9th against the Yankees. Ken Griffey singled in the go-ahead run. Cal tonight has a double and a 2-run homer. He's driven in 3 and now has 57 runs batted in. 1-2.
Well, Cal has been whirling away with that bat better than I've seen him in several years. And it doesn't appear as though anything's going to come to a grinding halt this season.
A roller to Harold Reynolds at second. 2 down. With 6 home runs tonight, the Orioles have now hit 42 home runs in their last 25 games.
That, of course, leads all of baseball.
And Big Ben is hoping that they might have a couple left for tomorrow.
Well, they got him some runs in his last start. He just couldn't make it hold up.
Strike one to Leo Gomez, who hit one of the 6 home runs back in the 3rd inning. Off Joe McGrain. Out in front of the off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2. Take a bow, Greg Biagini.
Doubling his hitting coach and manager right now.
That's right. Johnny Oates was ejected earlier tonight. He kind of forgot about that with his barrage of home runs. Jim Poole is throwing in the Oriole bullpen. One and 2. Some hellos we'd like to acknowledge. Please announce a happy 22nd wedding anniversary to Anita and Bill Mattingly of Rock Point, Maryland. Art Lynn from Hardcore Promotions is here. Cameron Bryant from Raleigh, North Carolina is also here. That's low, and the count is full. Jeff from Providence Hospital in Washington, D.C. thinks the Orioles hitting tonight is due to the big group here from Providence Hospital. Well, I don't know about that, but I'm sure the group is enjoying themselves tonight. 3-2 to Leo Gomez. Ball 4. Joe Gray gives up a 2-out walk to Gomez, and that'll bring up Chris Hoyles.
About as wild as they get, and then from Joel Gray, look at that thing sail straight down into the ground.
Chris Hoyles hit his 14th home run of the year in the 7th inning off Craig Lefferts.
Line up the dish, get a clear signal. Never know what's going to happen.
Strike 1. One ball, one strike. They need one more home run to break the Major League record. Two and one. Well, if Hoyles gets on, Jeffrey Hammonds would be coming up with a chance to hit his 3rd home run of the game. Strike 2, 2-2. We thought we'd seen everything in that Cleveland series, but this has topped it.
It sure has. Big time.
The Angels have used 5 pitchers tonight. Joe McGrain, Mike Butcher, Russ Springer, Craig Lefferts, and Joe Gray. The Orioles lead 14-7. 3-2. Leo Gomez will be running on the pitch. And Jeffrey Hammonds would like to get one more shot at hitting the ball out of the yard. Foul down the right field line.
Well, Joel Gray is not pitching like someone who wants to be a willing victim here in setting the Major League record for home runs allowed in a game.
Gray has given up 4 home runs in 33 innings. Gomez is running, ball 4, and Hammonds will get a chance to hit.
Tried to trim a little fur off the outside part of the plate.
Jeffrey Hammonds has already hit 2 home runs tonight. He hit one off Joe McGrain in the 3rd. He hit another one off Craig Lefferts in the 7th.
Hold up the banners. You never know what's going to happen.
Chuck Hernandez, the Angels pitching coach, is going out there to tell Joe Gray, look, Joe, if he hits one out, set a new Major League record. Now, we don't want that. No, I'm sure they have no idea in the dugouts what the impact of this game has been in terms of records.
I bet they know it's close, though.
Well, Joe, do you want to be remembered like Tracy Stallard, Ralph Terry, Al Downing? No? Then get Hammonds. Strike 1.
Maybe if it was a solo home run, he might agree with you. Maybe he might throw 3 hard pitches right there, but not with a couple of guys on.
Ground ball to Harold Reynolds. And he throws on Hammonds to end the inning. But the Orioles pick up another run on a sacrifice fly at the end of 8, lead the Angels 14-7. All rights to this telecast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, or other use of this telecast without the express written permission of the Baltimore Orioles and Westinghouse Broadcasting Company is prohibited. It's been an unbelievable night at Camden Yards with the Orioles leading 14-7. These teams have combined for 11 home runs. The Orioles have hit 6, the Angels 5. By the way, the club record by the Orioles for most home runs in a game is 7. But these two teams have tied the major league record for most combined home runs by 2 teams. The 8th time this feat has been accomplished in major league history. Jim Poole comes into work the 9th. Mark Eichhorn was brilliant again. 3 shutout innings. He allowed 1 hit, walked none, and struck out 1.
You can't pitch any better than Eichhorn has over his last many outings. But Jim Poole gets a chance, Mel, to flaunt his stuff on an evening surely not reserved for good pitching prospects from that mound out there.
And Mike Messina stands to win this game. If the Orioles can nail it down here, he would win it despite giving up 5 home runs, which has tied the club record for most home runs allowed by a pitcher. Our pal Jim Palmer gave up 5 home runs on June 22nd, 1977.
That's right. It's great when you can have a bad outing like that and still be able to win. I'm sure he'll cherish it just like all the others.
Gary DeSarcina leading off the 9th inning for the Angels and loops one into right.
Maybe we're not finished.
It's the 12th Angel hit. Looks like we're going to get a pinch hitter. Rex Hudler will hit for Spike Owen. So Rex the Wonder Dog coming up in the 9th. He spent some time with the Orioles, began his career in the Yankee organization, came over to the Orioles, played several teams in the National League, went to Japan. Rex has done a good job of limited action this year. He's had only 81 at bats, but he's hitting .358.
Getting on base almost 40% of the time too, Mel.
81 at bats. He's hit 6 home runs.
That's big time production right there. That's 14 extra base hits and just 81 at bats, as you mentioned. Well, that's going to the plate and making something happen.
1 ball, 1 strike to Rex Hudler, one of the great hustlers of all time. I don't think anybody plays the game with more enthusiasm than Rex.
Well, he's a delightful individual. As nice a person as you meet in the game. And I think he can socialize so well. He'd be a good politician.
That's what we need, is another politician. Popped a foul out of play.
And I'll tell you, when you sat on that bench for a little over 3 hours and 10 minutes, it's tough to crank yourself up, put any ball in play. It takes a special individual to be able to do that.
Rex played with the Orioles in 1986. Slow roller kicks off foul. Rex is now 33 years of age. Where has time gone? He's been with the Yankees, the Orioles, Montreal, St. Louis. Last year in Japan with the Colt Swallows. Fly ball, hooking foul down the left field line.
In '86, I actually thought Hudler was going to be the next second baseman in this organization. He was just building himself up, developing great strength. And he had the second base mechanics to be able to play that position in a very hardy way. And he looked to be strong and coming around at the plate, but no one else thought that way.
He hits one foul the other way. Rex was a great high school athlete in Fresno, California. An outstanding football player, just aside from playing baseball and basketball and soccer. Heavily recruited in football. He was a first-team All-American wide receiver and was Offered scholarships by 25 different major colleges. Fisted to Cal Ripken on one hop. Over to Hewlett on to first. Double play. Well, Seattle has beaten the Yankees 4-3, so if the Orioles win this one, and well they should, they'll be 3.5 games out.
Run off the hands right to Rip right here. And watch this underhanded toss here to Hewlett. And the conversion is completed first.
Damian Easley is pinch hitting for Harold Reynolds. Easley began the year as the Angels starting third baseman. Strike one to Damian.
Unless the Angels, as a scrawny pup, can make a snappy comeback right here, this game is pretty much in the Orioles' pocket. And a very prosperous evening it has been.
This will be a night to remember.
Yes, indeed.
1-1. Ground ball to Cal Ripken. Over to first. That's the ball game. What a night. The Orioles and the Angels combined for 11 home runs. 6 by the Orioles, 5 by California. They tied the major league record for most home runs by 2 teams in a game. And the totals for the Orioles: 14 runs, 13 hits, 1 error, and 5 left. For the Angels, 7 runs, 12 hits, 2 errors, and 4 left. Mike Mussina gets the win despite giving up 5 home runs. He's now 12-4. Joe McGrain is the loser. He is 2-5. So the Orioles return home on a winning note, pounding the Angels tonight, 14-7.